Baby, when the lights go out, every single word you might express, your love and tenderness.
We got a Junseth competitor.
Show you what
It's still recording. We're good.
What?
You got to sing louder than that.
Mate, I'm singing Five. You guys are British. You remember the
Yeah.
band Five? Of
Yes.
course. Yeah.
I remember Five.
Robbie Williams was the sixth member of Five. Did
Was
you know
he?
that? No, he wasn't. But that was a rumor I heard, and I used to tell people that like I knew it was true. And it was like the joke is in the name. Like he's the sixth member of Five. I'm too stupid. Yeah, how good.
We're Five out here? Do people know about here?
Dude, Five were thumping. Yeah. I'll tell you what happened before we had the internet. The UK and Australia's charts were very tight.
Right.
So breaking the UK was really easy for Australian artists. So Kylie Minogue, for example, she was huge over there. She wasn't as big in the US. No, she was sort of did okay in the US, but generally it was like between Britain and like we just trade, talent basically, I think. But then the internet came out and then everyone could make it to America a bit better and easier and stuff like that, it seems. So you've got people like, the kid from Redfern that's just done all those songs with Justin Bieber. He's smashed it. He's like 19, Aussie dude from just down the road here. And he's got like all these number one, that I do the same.
No.
Okay, cool.
Dude,
There we
I
go. There's the
literally-
soundbite. There
All
you go.
I listen to is death metal.
Yeah, oh yeah, same. No, I don't mind. I mix it up. I'm such an easy crowd when it comes to that. Anything that just hits the dopamine spot, terrible.
Dude, it's so good to see you.
It's really good to see you.
I was
It's
telling
really cool.
Danny, I was like, I cannot wait to see him. I even said to your brother yesterday, I was like, I'm just going to tell you this. I upset Danny. I was like, Michael is my favorite person I've ever met in Bitcoin. I've met a lot of people. Like, he is my favorite human. And I used to get to see you every few months in San Francisco.
I know.
And then I didn't for ages.
I know.
I haven't seen you in what, like 3 years?
It's been about 3 years, yeah. I think the last time it was downstairs and it might have been like the 2020 Bitcoin conference or something in San Francisco, or 2018 or 19 or something. But you were there and everyone was there and it was a huge thing. And I think it was maybe 2019 or something.
Oh, man.
Big Bitcoin conference, San Francisco.
I'm trying to remember. I remember coming to your office and you and I snuck out. We were vaping.
Yes, that's right. Down to the back to the fire stairs or whatever. Yeah.
With our, what were they called?
The jewels.
The jewels,
yes,
we were out there.
Yeah.
And it was like, you got to mint one.
Yeah, we got $300 fines for that every time that happened. No.
And I was saying to you, I was like, no, Michael's someone that's like, it would be an actual friend of mine because I'd meet you and we don't really talk about Bitcoin because
no.
boring
It's just
geek
like
shit.
what's doing.
Yeah.
I think we've got something in common when we're in the US and we're both not from there, but we're both from some Commonwealth country. It's sort of like that.
Well, look, I've totally missed you and I appreciate every time I get a random WhatsApp, like every few months from you checking in or talking to me. I totally forgot you sent me half a Bitcoin. I didn't even claim it. What a fucking idiot.
Dude, fascinating. That's part of history now. This is fascinating. I'll tell you why. And like, I don't want to go down a rabbit hole, but let's I'll give you something, right? So that key that I sent, so that was on the 21st. If you pull out your WhatsApp, or I sent it to you yesterday, but I think it's on the 21st of the 10th, 2021. And what I'd done is I'd locked half a Bitcoin at the end of the chain, basically 120 years from now. And I locked it there and I was like, okay, cool. But if you lock that coin there, I need the private key. Basically, the purpose of it was to lock a huge amount of energy into the future, like giving every person today a lotto ticket. Everyone's got the winning lotto ticket, but we're drawing it in 120 years. And what I was trying to do was give you the other half, which to pair it, I put half a Bitcoin into the future and the other half into the non-time locked address. So you've got a private key that generates a Bitcoin address. So I locked half a Bitcoin into that Bitcoin address and then a half a Bitcoin into the time locked Bitcoin address. And to time lock, it's called BIP65. Peter Todd wrote that, and it's unbelievable. It's basically the strongest form of security that we've got digitally in the world. And what it is, it basically means that this transaction can never, ever, ever be spent until this block height is reached. And that block height is like the year 2140 or something.
Right, okay.
So anyway, basically you missed it, but I was recording it. As I uploaded the private key to GitHub, I was saying, hey man, I'm putting this here for you as a donation to your show, because I didn't really know. I was quite lost in that at that time. It was 2 years ago or so. And I sort of didn't know what to do. And I didn't really know where the space was. And I was like, oh, Pete's got the show. I'll just try and donate to him.
And I ignored it.
You totally ignored it. And it's funny because I sent a WhatsApp voicemail as I uploaded this key to GitHub. And I was like, oh, dude, hey, man, I just uploaded that thing for you. And, unconfirmed chat. Oh my God. And you hear me in real time. Someone stole it in real time. So I uploaded the private key. The purpose of it was to get the private key out there so that everyone has,
I got it, Danny. Do you want to hear it?
Play it right to the mic.
All right, hold on.
Oh, it's a bit of word soup probably, but let's go.
Hey Pete, it's me. Obviously. Yeah, sorry, I'm a bit disorganized at the moment, man. But I just put it. This is the dog. I'm unfinished, but it's got a key in it. The key's got a Bitcoin on it. Half a Bitcoin is available now, which I just gave you the instructions so that you can send it to yourself. The other half is locked until block 7.1 million, which is. I'm building this clock thing, so you don't worry about all the noise that you're reading on the page. But basically, it's got the key on it for you. So anyway, I'll fix up the other part for you as well. I just wanted to make sure you read this because I just realized it's on my GitHub, so I'm hoping no one gets it before you. But yeah, okay, I am. Fucking sorry to hear about this fuck around, man. What a fucking pain in the fucking ass. Anyway.
I know what that is.
Wow, hold on. Unconfirmed. Someone's just taken that. I think someone's literally just stolen it.
It's the kind of thing you would have said to me, and I'd have been like, "All right, I'll deal with that like tomorrow."
Literally, of course,
and then forgot about it.
It's 2 years later, we're dealing with it. But the funny part is, like, so I uploaded that, and that was all real time. No, like BS or anything. But I've tested it again, and basically, what's happening is on GitHub, and this used to happen when when I was at Wyre. If an engineer would accidentally upload their developer key, you'd be like, "Oh shit, their account got drained or something." So you're really conscious of uploading private keys to GitHub because think of these like Sentinel kind of spies. Like they're just bots. People have written a program saying search private key GitHub and copy paste any results and run them through a Bitcoin thing. And if any of them are successful, send them all to this address. So it's like sweeping. So I didn't realize, but I uploaded that and there's just a ping straight away, like instantly. And it's funny, actually, I think at the time, well, yeah, anyway, so that got stolen. That really surprised me because that's like a heartbeat. It's like a heartbeat test. I want to know, look, whoever's out there, how spying are you? Like, how accurately are you spying? How tight is this feedback loop? If a private key gets exposed, what's the feedback loop for it's gone? And like the premise was, if people are willing to steal it today, like I wanted to see how long it would take for someone to steal it. Because if it's worth stealing today and the network doesn't break, then in the future, it will most certainly be absolutely worth stealing. And so the premise is, I want this key to live forever so that everyone's got the lotto ticket, basically. And then you've got, let's say, Iris Energy, who we're in their office now, they're going to be a miner. And so if they've got a private key that's got 50 million Satoshis on it, when the block reward is 1 million Satoshis or 0, then they're going to be like, well, yeah, you guarantee we're going to include that in a block and we're paying ourselves that amount. So what's going to happen? Everyone is going to sort of hold hands together and be like, you know what, just to hedge this shit, Iris included, everyone is going to be like, this is too big. Like if there was 30, let's say 3 million Bitcoins in a block today, everyone, Iris, Riot, would all shake hands and be like, how are we going to pull this up so that we all chop it up? Let's push all our hash rate. And so that all pull together because the relative value to what their earning capacity is past, present, and future is just not even in the conversation. So they have to hedge and kind of band together. And I thought that was kind of a cool way. It's like, fuck, we might get everyone on the same page on planet Earth just for 10 minutes, but at least they're on the same page for 10 minutes because they're all going to be saying the same thing at once. And they're saying the same thing, which is this private key. And so, because everyone's speaking digitally, right? So everyone's communicating the same thing. I don't know. I just thought it was interesting. And so if we can do that on a persistent ledger, like carving it into stone, I'll tell you what it's like. It's like going into, like, let's say Saudi Arabia 400 years ago and getting imagine we had a time machine and we got all the oil production today. We got all these barrels, put them in this big stadium-sized container and bury it in the sand. Then on top of the sand, we put this massive fuck off sign that says heaps of oil and energy below here, dig. And then today we're like, I wonder what's under there. It says like dig here, fuckface. It's like a treasure map through time. But so what we're trying to do is build a treasure map, 4-dimensional one that follows the chain along the end. I know I sound like a loopy cat. Oh man.
Oh mate, no, but
dude,
listen.
How do I like? disappear, like like the seat disappearing. But anyway, that's the
what did I tell you?
that's the word salad.
I said to Danny, I said, you're going to love Danny.
Oh,
You're going to fucking love him.
God.
I missed out on half a Bitcoin. Damn
You
it.
missed it.
By the way, Danny, you haven't done your Tim Tam.
I finished my drink as well.
Oh, you were
on.
meant to. Yeah.
All right,
They
here you
go
go.
hand in hand.
Right, so you've got to take a little chop off the corner and then the opposite corner. And
Is
what
this
do-
you winding me up?
No. I'm telling you, this is going to open a whole new world for you. Then do the opposite corner, and then you need to suck the coffee through until you, and then put the whole Tim Tam in your mouth.
Sorry for your coffee.
That's all right. Until you get the coffee to your mouth, and then put the whole thing in your mouth.
The whole fucking thing.
Yeah, it will just go.
It's kind of gross.
The roll up.
Kind of gross. Really?
What?
Oh, you don't have any Vegemite on. That's why. Oh, that'll fix it. Wait. Oh, you're probably not American. Yeah.
So my
Yeah.
one of my best friends,
Yeah.
Tim
Yeah.
Hill, I went to school with. He went traveling to Australia with his girlfriend, Tam.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tim.
Oh,
and
you
Tam.
actually?
No, swear to
Tim
God.
and Tam went
Tim
traveling to
they got-
Australia.
Yeah, they went traveling to Australia.
Best.
And he got out, he was like, funny thing, there's these biscuits. Like everywhere we went, everyone was telling us about these biscuits. So he brought them back. He brought me back a pack. He said, just bite one corner, bite the other.
Yeah.
I reckon I demolished that pack in minutes.
They're one of like the pride of Australia. Like it's like that, like Tim Tams, Vegemite, like maybe beer, and then Wi-Fi. Like the three best things from Australia, probably.
I think Tim Tams is your greatest export.
I think so. I think so. Yeah,
fucking love
Wi-Fi
it.
is a close second, mate. Nah,
Wi-Fi?
yeah, I'm pretty sure it's Aussie.
Really? Yeah. Didn't know that.
It
Anyway,
is now. No, I'm pretty sure it is.
how you been, man? I haven't seen you in ages.
It's been ages. It's been ages. I've been great. I feel like you guys have been awesome, and congrats on just watching the show grow and all the journey. It's unbelievable to see. So good on you.
Thank you.
Good on
well,
you
I've known
guys.
you. Was it you reached out to me to begin with? I was trying to remember how we got in touch.
I think I would have I think you weren't in the space as much yet, and you were working maybe on a marketing contract with CoinList, or
No, I was
or you were
working
going for a
at-
job there or something.
Oh fuck! Science in Santa Monica,
Right.
with Mike Jones.
Yep.
I was like, I was tweeting about Bitcoin,
Yeah.
and then I was on a flight to LA. For some reason, he was following me. He said, "Come and see us."
Yeah.
And then I went in, and I didn't have any smart clothes.
Yeah,
I went
yeah.
in flip flops, shorts, and a t-shirt.
Yeah.
And then they were like, come in and trade for us. I was like trading for them, thinking I was a genius just because everything was going up, and then it didn't, so that didn't work out. But then I did just launch the pod then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And fantastic. What a dream come true.
Yeah.
Like you've done everything you've said you wanted to do. Build a cool podcast. And it's
Yeah.
like you've executed. So good on you. I think
It was
it's incredible.
good fun. But look, it was.
Yeah.
I haven't seen you since Wyre. I don't
Yeah.
need to know about Wyre. I want to
Yeah.
know, like, what have you done since?
Yep.
You got thin.
Yeah, trying to. Okay, so your
You
body's
look
like,
younger.
Really?
Yes.
Dude, I feel like I've aged as fuck, man.
No,
like
you
my
look
hair's
younger.
grey as fuck. I just feel like I'm turning like into Gandalf or something, like aging really quickly. But
Yeah, but you go day to day. I haven't
Yeah.
seen you in person for like
Yeah.
2-3 years.
Right.
You look younger. You look
Dude.
thinner.
well, I appreciate it. I'll take it.
Professional athlete.
Dude, oh man. No. So I'll tell you what I've been doing. Okay, so I was just explaining to you guys before. I'll talk to you about the steps, right? So I've been all about walking. Like when I came back, so I moved back from San Francisco and I stepped away from my role as previously CEO, and it was time for me to move on because I was out of fumes and they had a lot of better people. They went and came and did a lot better. So it was the right decision at the time. I came back and I was just like, I need to focus on my mental health and I need to get my shit together. Like as a human being, like if my body's a startup or whatever, it's getting treated like absolute trash and run into the ground. So let's maybe try and fix it. So I sort of said, like, came back, had to do this 2-week quarantine from COVID, right? When you come back into the country. And that was in 2020. And I was like,
You went into the concentration camp.
yeah.
Oh,
It was a hotel just down the road from here, actually. But yeah, it was one of the concentration camps, so to
Yeah.
speak. Yeah, we had it so rough. The hotel, it was terrible, dude. It was. I'll tell you what, it was good. Okay, so here's what I liked it and it's weird because you open your door and there's a soldier standing there. Not like, oh yeah, somebody. It's like a soldier. And he's like, any questions? And you're like, may I have some fresh air, sir? He's like, close the door. And you're like, and like, you just feel like this stronger hand than yours just like squish you closed and feel your will break. But it was great. I'll tell you why. It was like when you were little and you got yelled at to go, swimming lessons or go run in the park or whatever it was, but you had to go do stuff. You're like, no, I don't want to. And it's like, get outside and get some fresh air or whatever. This was kind of like, sit down and shut up for 2 weeks. And in a way, it breaks your spirit, right? Because you can't do anything. You can't leave it if you wanted to. So you get forced to kind of like go, okay, well, what's important, right? And so someone asked me, they were like, oh, what's the 3 things? And it's like, well, the first thing you want to do is like have family dinner. The second thing is go for a walk on like at Bondi Beach, just like where I grew up. And then the third thing was like have family dinner. Oh yeah, have family, and just see my grandma. She's like 700. So you like, you want to see her, been away for like 10 years, she's turning into Shang Tsung or whatever, the dude from Mortal Kombat. It's like 1,000. He's not, that's Goro. I think Goro's like 800. He's the dude with the 4 arms. Anyway, so came back, mental health, like, okay, cool. And what's weird, all that shit is all those 3 things, all of them are free. None of them cost $1. And that was like if I could wave a magic wand right now, what would I have? And it's like, didn't require money. I was like, holy shit, that's so interesting. Then after that, I was like, okay, I need to spend my time doing something. So walking was really important to me. I was like, dude, you haven't exercised for shit in ages. You've cooked your brain. You've been up early. You've been staying up late. You've been burning the candle at both ends. You're working too much, no balance. I was like, all right, cool. We'll get some shoes and let's start walking. So it was just basically the goal was like, let's do 10,000 steps a day or whatever. And you read all this like motivational shit and says like, get yourself working. And literally that's what you do. You just start reading more and trying to understand shit more. And so from then that was like, coming up to 4 years ago, or whatever, not 4 years ago, but it'll be, 3.5 soon. And I just noticed, I was like, oh, I'm mad. So we're coming up to 4 years and it'll be, if I do 20,000 steps for the rest of the year, I think I've got like 116 days left or something, then I'll hit 21 million steps, which will come out to 100 steps for every block for 4 years, which is 1 step every 6 seconds, including sleep time. And I just thought like, that was a cool metric. I was like, there's no rocket science there.
How many steps is that a day?
It's not that many. It's about 14,500, but it's every day. So if you miss a day, you got to do 14,500, 28,000 the next day. Well, obviously you're going to do a step on any given day, but yeah, I think it's more just the practice of consistent, whether that was 7,000 and I was doing 2,000 before or something. I don't know, but it's sort of more just the premise of just one foot in front of the other for a long time and something should sort of figure itself out. And I feel like that was, I really enjoyed that for myself and I got really lucky because the idea I was trying to zero off just distractions and just everything, just trying to zero off everything. I was really, like confused as a person and all this stuff going through so much. We feel a lot of pressure and then you get a chance to take that pressure off and you start learning more about yourself. You start exercising. Exercising's got this thing, neurogenesis. I didn't know this was a thing, but it basically is like produce new brain cells. So it's like, fuck, this is free. Dude, everyone's spending money on stuff. I need brain cells right now. I'm going to get those things. And they're free, which is right in my price range. So I'll take that. And then you just start walking. Just every step, more brain cells. You get some free brain cells, free electrons, sun on your skin. I don't know. It sort of turns your brain, back on kind of thing in a different way. But I don't know. I just feel like that was really healthy as a sort of, I don't know. If I didn't do anything else during it, nothing else, and like just stay alive, eat, and just walk, then it's like, yeah, that's probably not bad.
Dude, I did it, God, what was it, like 8-9 years ago after like my marriage ended and like I was coming off drugs and I had terrible anxiety and panic attacks. Yeah. I was having these things called SVTs and I went to the doctor and he was like trying to put me on antidepressants. Yeah. And I got in the car afterwards. I've told this story a million times, but like I was like, I went on my phone. I was like, alternatives to antidepressants. It was like running, yoga, meditation. So I went and bought trainers. Yeah. I ran nearly every day for a year. Yeah.
Best doctor in the world.
Yeah, 50 miles a week. Yeah. And you know what? Within a year, it all gone. I felt great. I'd taken time off work. Obviously, I fucked it all back up and I've stopped running and now I work too much and eat shit, sleep terribly. But it's seeing you and like it's right at a time when I've been discussing this, right?
For a little while now.
Yeah. I've been traveling for 6 years now.
Dude, you've been burning the candle at both. You've been doing a lot of work.
It's time to readjust.
But yeah, I'm sure. Well, look, you don't look bad. Yeah, as long as you don't feel bad.
No, I
that's the
do
main
feel
thing.
bad.
Oh, you feel bad?
Yeah, I feel
good.
terrible.
Yeah, well, dude,
feel
get
like
that shit
shit.
sorted. Let's feel good
Dude,
again. Happy
honestly-
is the new rich.
No, I'm happy.
Good.
Like, I've got everything I can want in life. I've
Beautiful.
been so lucky.
Beautiful.
Apart from the health.
Right.
I don't go to the gym enough. I don't sleep enough. I don't
Who's
eat
in
right.
charge of that?
Me. Yeah, it's
Doesn't
just
it suck? I'm realizing you're like, who the fuck's in charge of this shitty joint? And you're like, oh, me again.
Yeah, it's me.
You know, like,
Yeah.
oh, that's right. This guy.
do you know what? I think if I found a good woman
Yeah.
and actually allowed someone in my life, she would be like, Pete, get your shit together. So
Yeah.
that would be helpful. But
Yeah.
until that time, it's basically Danny's job.
You've got to make this decision
Pete, get your
yourself.
shit together.
Danny tries. Like we'll go away. We'll take. I pack my gym gear, my trainers, and like,
Yeah.
Danny's like, we'll go for a walk. We did
Yeah.
a little short walk yesterday, and then today
Yeah.
I'm up and I'm emailing. And
We did like
Yeah.
700 steps or something.
Yeah.
Hey.
I felt good.
Hey, better than nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I walked down to the coffee shop this morning, got a sandwich.
Ubered home. yeah.
But no, look,
Yeah.
I'm looking at you now. I'm going,
Yeah.
I fucking envy this. What you've got is freedom.
Oh, well, at the yeah, that's I'm trying to find it, right? I think you find that with your look, yes, yeah. At the moment, I've got heaps of time, and I'm like, I've never had this much time before, like, and I'm never, not really. I've never had this much time to think and just sort of take care of life admin, like, your body and stuff. And so, yeah, I'm just kind of like capitalizing on it before I'm going to get ram raided without time again, like at some point in my life, whenever it is. But
Don't
if
do
I've got
it.
the time, I'm like, man, I'm going to try and get this rig together or just try and get this brain together. Tell you what's mad, Ironman. So I can't do an Ironman, but they're these like triathlons and they're really long. But here's the thing. So you're a podcaster, right? When you do these long endurance events, you can't have headphones and shit. So if you're on the bike, you can't have headphones because you got to mind your surroundings and shit. But the whole time, like it goes for 7 hours. Your heart rate's at 160. So your energy signature as a magnetic energy thing, it's like you can't see it, but you're like your brain's throbbing and your whole like everything's going. And then you've got like basically it takes so long. It's like you're on a podcast interview with yourself. It's the worst. So every stupid thing you've ever done, every funny thing, and you're just going back in your life for 7 hours, and you're getting it. It's like a time warp.
Have you done an Ironman then?
I've done a half. I did the half was like 3 months ago or 2 months ago.
So back when I was doing the running, I started doing even before that. I did 3 half Ironman.
Wow. That's
swim.
so impressive.
The swim was my problem because I'm not a good, strong swimmer.
Right.
Cycle, piece of piss.
Okay.
The run, not too bad.
Yeah.
The swim killed me.
Oh man, I'm a total lemon party on the bike. It's like I've never ridden a bicycle in my life. And I've been riding a bicycle since I'm 5. Like I'm so incompetent. I don't know how.
Did you
But
go
anyway.
buy the most expensive, amazing bike?
Oh no, I bought the cheapest thing because I was like, dude, you can't get into this thing. I was renting it up until the point where the guy was like, hey man, can you just buy it off me? I was like, okay, cool, whatever. Like it's kind of like that almost where you're trying to get away because all this cycling stuff, mate, I don't know how these guys do it. They pay $4,000 for a wheel that saves them, like, I don't know, whatever gives them an extra 1.1K an hour on the downhill or whatever it is. But it's these marginal optimizations that every marginal optimization, $2,000, $4,000, $1.5 You're just like, ugh.
What's that book about Team Sky?
I don't
Look
know.
it up. There's a book. Do you know Team Sky? That they're like the most successful cycling team ever.
Yeah.
The
Inside
guy.
Team Sky.
What?
Inside Team Sky.
Is it? No, I think it was something else. It's the book's
The
about
pain and the glory?
it's about marginal differences. Go on Amazon and if you have a look. And
Marginal
who's-
differences.
Was it Roger Brailsford? Who's the coach?
I know nothing about cycling.
So when he took over it, and they wanted to accelerate the team or whatever,
Yeah.
they looked at every single part, every component of a cycling team.
Yep.
From food, equipment, and every single thing. It's like, where can we make every marginal difference?
Yes. Shaved legs versus non-shaved legs.
Yeah.
All these tiny things.
Tiny, tweeny things. Every single thing, and they did it all, and they kicked everyone's ass
Yep.
for years.
Yep.
There's a book. Fuck, what's it called? I can't remember what it's called.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway,
That's
it.
insane. 3 half Ironmans. How incredible is that?
I mean, the first one was the hardest.
Yeah.
I remember doing the first one. I did the the British, the UK one down,
Yeah.
and you end up swimming in like St. Catherine's
Urine.
Lock, which is fucking gross. There's like cells of dead bodies like floating
it's
up.
filth.
Rats,
Yeah, awesome.
Honestly,
Everyone getting an earache because of
Yeah.
the water in their ear.
I vomited and
Yeah,
I was
beautiful.
slow. And then I did the cycle.
Yeah.
I came back and I did the run.
Yeah.
Did the first lap and I was like, great, 1 to go. And then they held up the sign. It was actually 3 to go. There's 4 laps. So in my head, I was
Your
like,
expectations were
God.
mismanaged. Yep.
Yeah, I was raising money for this young girl. There was this young girl who had like collapsed at school and got brain damage. So I had like her name on my hand. I was like, I use that as motivation. I cried at the end.
Oh,
Like,
good on you.
I got to the end. My ex-wife, my fiance at the time, my kids were there, and I was so emotional.
You should have been, because you're
It's
so proud
hard.
of yourself.
But
It's
you know
hard
what
work.
like.
But
It's hard.
it's very hard because it's the day, what, it takes 7 hours or 5 hours or 9 hours, however long it takes a person. But, you got up every morning, or whatever it was, like 4 times a week, 6 times a week, it would have been 12 hours of training, whether it's a swim, bike, or run, that whole journey. And like when you go to these events, like the Sydney Marathon's on in 2 weeks, right? And these events usually start at like, let's say 6 in the morning or something. And the weird thing is, and it's a really healthy thing to participate in for this reason, everything you do in life basically is orientated around money almost. Like there's some motivation behind money. And now when you go to these events, every person, it's usually on a Sunday morning because it's a free day, and it's 6 in the morning. So it's 6 in the morning on Sunday morning, and every person is there and they've paid money to be there, and there is no prize for being there, and it's all work. And the only people showing up are every person there is trying to better themselves almost. And it's like, fuck, that's cool. That's a rare environment. Like you walk downstairs to anywhere, everyone's like, beep, beep, ha, ha, like move, I'm trying to make money, and everyone's trying to step on each other or shit on each other. And it's like, you go to this place and it's almost like everyone's trying to get better. It's like kind of going to church in a weird way. Everyone's sort of there for, just please help build me better or make me better or give me some peace of mind or whatever it is.
Oh man, this interview is going to really sit with me, and I'm going to go back to the hotel room and be like, fuck, got to make some changes. Because I remember 8-9 years ago, I had a year off work.
Yeah.
I ran every day. Most days I'm doing 10K. I'll do 1 half marathon a week.
Yeah.
I got slim, got in shape.
Yeah.
I went out to California, Topanga Canyon. It's interestingly that sparked everything else that I do now, because I was out there running. I just went to the canyon to run for a week on my own, but then I was hanging out with Rich Roll.
Yeah.
And I was like, how do you do a podcast?
Yeah.
Fucking here's a podcast.
Unbelievable.
But anyway, so like, and I was running. I felt good.
Yeah.
I was a vegan at the time.
Wow.
Yeah. And I was like eating well.
Yeah,
Everything
yeah.
was good.
Yeah.
And then what's happened is work starts.
Everything in moderation, inclling moderation, but yeah.
Let's start a podcast. Let's buy a football team. Let's buy a bar. Let's start doing so in this 2 weeks is fly to Australia, record how many shows?
10.
Or 10 shows, have a live event, fly to Lebanon, make a film, hopefully don't get kidnapped, fly back to the book my flights in a way that I can get back for the football. Yeah. Then go up to my bar and check it. And I'm like, what have I fucking done? I filled my life with shit.
Wow, you're
I
busy.
love it all.
Make hay while the sun shines. That's, I think you're making lots of hay at the moment. Or you're making lots of hay.
Not with a football team, you don't.
No, that's a passion project. Yeah. But hey, I heard that's going good, isn't it?
Really
it looks like
good,
it's
man.
going fantastic.
Yeah,
Congratulations.
Won the league.
Yeah.
Second season now. Ladies are top of their league. Men are third. Men will go top if they win their games in hand.
Awesome.
Yeah. So need to build a new stadium and
that's your next
training
project.
center,
I'm an architect now.
Right.
Yeah.
Your brother yesterday said you're going very. People have been thinking, what the fuck? Are you making a Bitcoin show here?
Yeah.
Said you're going really deep on numbers.
Oh yeah, I'm loving it at the moment. It's really enjoyable.
Can we get out that tweet? You said, let me forward it to you, Danny.
There you go.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, can we go through this tweet thread? Can we
Is it
go
this one here?
Yeah.
one at a time? The reason it stuck out to me is your brother raised this Millennium Maths problems, and I saw this film a few years ago about, what was it called again? I can't remember. We looked up yesterday, and it's about this guy who's raising his daughter. No, he's raising his niece because her mum.
Was it called Gifted?
Yeah, gifted, committed suicide, and this little kid is a genius, And her mum in the film solved one of these Millennium Maths problems. So that's the only reason I know it existed. And your brother brought it up. And he said, you're looking at all this shit. And, and I want to know. So like...
Should we explain what a Millennium Maths problem is first? Well, no, I've never heard of it.
You tell us when is that relevant to this?
I don't think it is. Okay. I think just in general, the Millennium Maths problem, just to give back, it's basically like the leaderboard, not the leaderboard, but it's sort of, there's 7 of these problems and they're $1 million bounty from, the Millennium Institute of Mathematics or whatever it is or some institution. They basically said these are 7 really hard problems. We give $1 million to anyone can solve them all, or anyone could solve any one of them. And so this guy solved, I think it was a Poincare conjecture, like a few years ago. And he was like, nah, he was a Russian dude. And he was like, nah, I don't want the money. It's all good. But thanks, guys. Like, that was rad. That, like, total killer move. Like, legend.
Based as fuck.
Dude, what a dude, right? Anyway, so the other one's like, the Riemann hypothesis, which is like this very famous problem in mathematics that said to be, it's got, an indicator on, the relationship between numbers and prime numbers and all these kind of things. So these are kind of the holy grails, right? Let's say.
Are they could they be not solvable?
I don't think so. I think maths is too close to its sort of end in a way. And I don't mean in like, that sounds weird, but maths is like a language to speak to numbers or to interpret numbers, let's say. And I think what will happen is we don't dignify numbers to be a species, right? Let's say they're not a species. We consider plants, flora and fauna and stuff, but they've got more of an energy signature in our universe and they contribute to particles and behaviors and stuff. Numbers we don't treat like that.
Right.
I think we will in the future, and we'll treat them more like a species. So when a number shows up, it's just like, why do these plants grow here? It's like, oh, well, this environment fosters these plants to grow here. So it's sort of like, the superstition of, oh, why is the number 7 keep, 11 keeps showing up on my clock. It's like, well, there is a universe where that is all real. And that's what I'm starting to see that's harder not to see than us having free will.
You'll see in numbers.
Well, no, as in where everything's a number. You're a number, right? Here's a really interesting thing before we get into this, right? Numbers are the only thing in the universe that declare their identity. Now, what I mean by that is you aren't you. I tell you who you are. And so let's say you and I are over here and Pete walks in. And then Pete walks in straight after, and then Pete walks in straight after again. 3 identical yous. And you've got all the same, you've got all the same things. You know everything about Pete and Pete. So Pete's age, date of birth. Where was your first, fried chicken? Where's the first time you ate fried chicken? Where's your first time you fall off your bike? All the things you'd know. And so I stand there and I go, which one's the real Pete? And you pull out and you pull out, oh, this is my birthday, here's my ID and stuff. But now so do all of you. So how do I know which one's the real Pete? I ask you contextual questions. And so does Danny. And we both ask these questions and we're like, that's not the real Pete. And you're like, I know, I didn't think he'd say that either. Rule out number 3. Okay, number 3's gone. So now it's like we tell you who you are based on the information you give us. And this is what happens when you do security policies at companies with how do we tell you are you when you're trying to log in. And so when you see these things saying take a selfie, jump up and down with 1 foot, clap your hands twice and then, wear a pink hat and take a selfie and all that whole like rigmarole that you go through, that's to basically say you're you. And we know that you're you right now. And so the reason why the selfie comes up is because, this is pretty sidetracked actually, it's not related. But anyway, the premise of identity is going to become a really big thing because now if we see AI, right, and everyone knows this, right? Yep. So you've got a lot of digital content. Yep. So your voice is basically, 1 hour's of work worth of, effort, and then it's a deep fake kind of type your own Peter McCormack. That's why Elon Musk, Tom Cruise, all these big personalities, they're first to get, Arnold Schwarzenegger, first to get deepfake because we've got 1,000 Arnold Schwarzenegger reactions, movies, GIFs, memes, whatever. So the more content flooded on the internet, the faster it is to get sort of commoditized, let's say. So now what makes you, if the only things that are you are your keys and your keys are only prime numbers, then prime numbers start taking like the cake and the only thing that matters, right? So once everyone can impersonate each other, once I can look like you and sound like you, then you become really invalid. You lose value. So if you're very, let's say, you've got a really awesome voice, or you're a really good actor, like Tom Cruise, you basically download Tom Cruise's model and put him into any movie now. Tom Cruise and Willy Wonka, Tom Cruise and James Bond, Tom Cruise in wherever the fuck I want. And Tom Cruise goes, just like Spotify or record labels saying, okay, cool, we're not getting $30 a hit, but look, we'll get $1 every time someone streams it. We'll get $1 every time someone puts them in their shitty home movie that they're made on, Unity or whatever, that basically looks like a blockbuster now because you can do it all. So you've got the power, tools are so powerful now. So now that identity has become totally blown out of the water, it's like, well, what makes you you? Right? What makes you you? And how does someone tell that you are you? So I think it comes down to work. And then, anyway. So
this stuff's important. So have you seen the Huberman Rogan deepfake?
No.
So this is where someone used AI to scam. So yeah.
Dude, I posted there was an Elon Musk ad that said, hey, here's my next token. Here's what I'm buying. And it's Elon Musk talking. And I reached out, I was like, this is it's brilliant effort, but it's just like, that's where it's going. I'm watching Elon Musk tell me this is the best token to buy or whatever. I'm like, that's not Elon Musk. And why am I seeing this? And oh my God, this is just a straw. Like this is just the beginning of the end. So now what other people do is the other thing is they'll put themselves with a red curtain background that looks like Joe Rogan, the background of Joe Rogan's, studio or whatever that you see the guests have. And they'll put it there and they'll start talking and it's got the subtitles. And, so much content is ripped and chopped and slapped and dapped from TikTok to Instagram Reels to YouTube Shorts. It's all sliced and diced. So you see all these similar style of videos, and when you see a red curtain in the background, you just immediately see this person is a subject matter authority and they're talking to some topic, whatever it be, personal training or, nutrition or whatever you're seeing in front of you from your YouTube Shorts or your TikTok. And you just immediately assume, okay, I don't have time to process, is this person real or not? I just assume who would go to the effort to put a red curtain in the back. Oh, wait, we're getting that desperate now. Everyone is trying to make it look like they're on Joe Rogan to make them seem like a subject matter authority. And then that becomes this whole fuck around of now, like when you see the word sale, the word sale is so bastardized that it doesn't mean anything. The word sale, you see that's on sale, you're like, and everything's on sale. Or, it's it doesn't have the oomph that it used to. And I think that's kind of, I feel like that's kind of now what happens when you see these clips of people with, red curtain backgrounds and all these subject matter experts or, subject authority speaking. It's just hard to tell real from fake. And once you have the real from fakes, you sort of just get apathetic where you're like, okay, well, it's too confusing. Don't need to think about it.
There's a Drake song an AI Drake song that's been submitted for a Grammy.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
A Grammy. Have you found the Huberman?
I think it's been removed. It says
from
copyright.
Everywhere.
The one I found, yeah.
Oh, I mean,
so basically it's them having a conversation about some product that they've discussing and recommending to each other.
There's Joe Rogan talking to Steve Jobs as well and things like that.
Yeah,
but this one was used to convince people that Huberman, who's this kind of
Huberman was entering him, and they're both agreeing that this is the best product you've ever seen.
And people will fall for it and buy that shit.
Of course,
yeah.
So Huberman was talking to Mark Andreessen about it on his show, and he's talking about this being an issue. And Mark Andreessen is talking about it being an issue because there's a number of things. One, people can use you to scam.
Of course.
But actually,
your likeness becomes basically obsolete.
Well, you can, but also deepfakes can actually destroy careers.
Well, I mean, of course, that's a whole thing. But then the essence of any digital content now is totally bunk.
Yeah, but
because it's totally.
Here, is it?
See, there's a red curtain.
There's a category of supplements that are very interesting, work very well to increase testosterone by about 100 to 200 points.
Well, look, that Alpha Grind product that's all over TikTok, if you go to Amazon and you type in libido booster for men, you're going to find it right at the top. And that's because guys are figuring out that
the script is brilliant.
I mean, that to me, you can tell that's fake, but these things will get indistinguishable.
Yeah, but here's the thing: they're fake now because we're critiquing it. But when you're in the vortex of just your brain, you're not consciously drinking content. You're just being told what you're watching. It's like, and you're not going to try and is this a fake one? You're not going to be as kind of on your guard. Now we're looking at it. I fully feel. I saw another one now. You reminded me of Zuckerberg, and I thought it was real. I watched the whole thing, and I was like, "Fuck, this is interesting." Zuckerberg's like, he's sitting there. He's like, well, everyone knows that, the easiest way to make money is via Facebook reviews. Like everyone knows that. And it was him talking to Joe Rogan. I was like, go on. Yeah. And I was like, it's like, and everyone knows, we don't deal with suckers. And I'm like, oh, I'm not a sucker. Total sucker. Anyway, but so that's getting very real.
But Huberman was asking Mark Andreessen what you do about this. And I think he got it half right. It was interesting because Mark Andreessen said, look, you need to have registries to prove who people are and therefore prove that content came from that person. You can sign it as your content. And then he was saying, well, how will you do it? He said, well, you can have a run by the government, but that isn't ideal. And said the second option is you run by like a private organization. Again, that's not ideal. Thirdly, it can be a blockchain. I was like, oh, but he did say a public key cryptography would be the way to solve it, which is kind of the Nostar thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's the only way, because like at the end of the day, we are only a key. The only thing that makes you able to claim you as you is a key, like a digital key. And so if that's the case, then it's sort of, we need to kind of reorientate all the conversation to be around one thing, and that's keys.
I think it's going to come quick. So
it will. It's coming
just
really
quickly.
quickly.
Go to my Twitter very quickly and go and pick any tweet, and there's an AI that replies to every tweet I send.
With a positive message?
It's kind of, yeah. And it's
really?
And a descriptive message.
Oh, that's cool.
Not that first one.
Jones.
Let's see if it's put. No, that's a retweet, isn't it?
Yeah.
There he goes. Chat BRGAI. So scroll up.
Sounds like you've somehow managed to turn organising into an action.
So scroll up, Danny. Let me read the original tweet. So my tweet says, Australian friends, Danny are in Sydney, getting ready for our live event this Saturday, sponsored by Iris Energy. Blowers are running in order. There are tickets still available here.
Yeah.
And so the AI says, it sounds like you've somehow managed to turn organising an event into an action thriller. Maybe consider giving out decoder rings with ticket purchases for an extra layer of intrigue. Have fun in Sydney. Every tweet I send, this fucking AI replies, right? And I'm like, okay, that's an interesting one. But when you, Twitter's got shit because a lot of the replies are terrible.
Yeah.
I'm starting to wonder how many are AIs. And my thing is, I think very quickly, large part of the internet is going to become almost unusable because you don't know what's real and what isn't.
Yes.
Therefore, you don't care anymore.
No. And now as you become apathetic to everything, so now what happens is this is a whole big wormhole into a whole nother conversation of, well, if we have all this digital stuff and we can't secure it properly, we're not going to stay obsessed with this digital stuff. Like, you know what I mean? Like, so right now, everyone's got, let's say you've got 150 accounts on the internet. You've got to have 150 passwords. Now, people have not one password manager, multiple password managers because, oh, that's the one from work and this is the one from home and that's the one from the old phone, but I can't remember the thing, so I'm just going to keep... Do you see the trend?
Yeah.
It just keeps growing. And you see the trend in our brains. We're getting lazier and lazier. So I think the trend is going to be, I don't need that. I don't need this. I'm over that. I'm tired of this. I don't really give a shit about that. Oh, I can live without that. And we're going to start going cut.
This is like you're getting rid of a car.
Yeah. It's, well, you're just basically, oh yeah, sorry, that's right. Getting rid of the car. It's like too much of a hassle. It's like, no, this.
What do I actually need in life? Like
need versus want, right?
Yeah.
And so I think once you realize, like you try and, yes, you try and figure out what you need and then you work backwards from there and you're like, all right.
Well, I'm kind of hoping all this AI fucked it up to an extent. Like I'm massively positive about AI. I love some of the shit you can do. But
it's awesome.
But I also got a feeling it's going to force us back into the meat space and doing stuff in person, which I really, really am happy about.
Yeah, I think our bodies need that, right?
Yeah.
Like we don't just interact as much. We don't have as much human connection. Like that's just a thing. Everyone can work from home. They don't, and all these sort of interpersonal skills that you develop as you have to little things, little tiny struggles, right? Let's say you go to your work and some person's always annoying you that sits near you. You have to deal with that in a day-to-day basis, but that's good for your brain to deal with. How do I figure this out? Or how do I put up with it? Or how do I become more patient or whatever? And so when you don't have that, it's sort of like we get a bit dumber. It's like I used to be able to remember everyone's phone numbers. Now I don't have to remember people's phone numbers because my phone does that for me. So I just have to remember the pointer that I saved it as or whatever.
Did you have a StarTAC?
Pardon? No. What's a StarTAC?
So that was
Is that like the beeper?
No. So the StarTAC was my first mobile phone. It was a Motorola.
Cool. Oh.
But when you used to send a text message, you couldn't select from your phone book.
Oh, right.
So you had to go in there and memorize the numbers. So I used to know everyone's number.
Of course.
I still remember my first house phone number.
Of course, yes. Yeah.
I remember of all my friends who've kept their number, I remember my friend Joe's number because I had to. So I remember these numbers.
They were there and they're imprinted in your brain because your memory at the time was the repetition. You just like we used to all remember our credit card number. Now it's more like, oh, we've Apple paid it or it's saved on file or this and that. And you might remember it, but I don't as much anymore. So
Hold on, do you remember a time when no mobile phones?
I think I got my first mobile phone when I was 11. I think my mum had one for like a few years before that.
What was the first one? Like a Nokia 5110 or something?
3310.
3310s, yeah.
So, but that's a few generations in.
Well, that's like the third. That's like 3 years after the 5110 launch, give or take.
Because like I know the time of no mobile phone. I know the time of no internet. You don't know that, do you?
I don't remember.
I mean, I think the internet's existed my entire life.
Yeah.
But I don't remember, like, we had dial-up shitty internet when I was, like, very young.
Yeah, I remember we got the internet in 1991, I think, and I was like 5 or 6.
So I was born
and I
in
remember,
91.
yeah, okay, so it was like
How old are you?
trumpet
Because I was
windsock.
like 14.
Pardon?
I was about 14.
Yeah, I think you were 14?
Yeah, I'm
Right.
44 now. So
Yeah,
what are you,
okay.
34, 35?
7.
37. Yeah, so it's about right.
So and like I remember it was like dial up, and we had a 28.8 internet modem, and it made that funny sound where you go "Ki-dung, dung," you know, that kind of that whole like symphony it used to make. But it was so different then, because it was sort of like you go there to find something, right? You're like, oh fuck, I can look that up now, and so you go there, look it up, or I can go to that. But now it's like, you know, the internet's just swallowed humanity. No one's, you know, everyone's kind of. Yeah, it just feels like, it feels like we're getting swallowed up. I think there's going to be a big sort of revelation where we sort of have a big aha moment as people, and we realize, oh my God, like people are starting to see this lack of human connection, or this lack of like, you know, community and all these things. Like, yes, online is really cool and stuff, but you've got to have these local communities and stuff like that. If you don't have that, I think people start going a bit crazy. Like I feel.
People are going crazy.
Well, of course they are.
There's like crazy
100%.
shit every day. I'm
Oh,
like,
yeah.
The stuff that you just see on Twitter, you're like video. There's a lot of video streams now on Twitter, and it's just people being fucking crazy. They're either fighting, or doing crazy.
Everything's
shit.
really tense, right? Everyone's really tense, and it's not like things aren't helping, right? So. Like money is not going to help. Like if money is getting harder, the whole world gets harder. Yeah. That's why this is like a barometer of difficulty in life. Like for any person living today, the barometer of difficulty is how fucked was your money. Like, and I'm not one of the money's fucked. Let's make money good again. I think money is a terrible investment. Like in humanity, it's like really shit. It's a good proxy for energy, but it's only there because we don't have infinite energy. Like it's literally only there because we have a scarcity. We're like, well, how do we divvy this up? Let's get this thing called money. If we had infinite resources, think about how quickly everything would not be a problem anymore. Imagine you got like some warlord in Africa or something. He's like, yeah, I like killing people, you know, unwillingly, or wherever it is, right? The big villain. You go give him a guy, big villain, what's your price? He goes, you can't buy me. Big villain, what's your price? And what do you want? This is okay, done. Next. What? Yeah, go, retire. There's the beach, there's the cabana, there's the drinks, there's whatever. Buy, stop being villain. Okay, cool. Everyone has enough. The problem is most people don't set a target. If you don't set a target for whatever defining enough is, then you never leave the game. You just stay in the game. And it's like...
Yeah, but dude, you sometimes set that target and you hit it and you're like, yeah, but now I want to get
Well, that's
there.
it. So, but this is the thing, right?
I want the yacht.
Well, that's exactly. So do you want the yacht? Do you need the yacht? And then you start thinking about it. It's like, I don't know. I find like I personally was just, I feel like everyone's kind of, you know, if the tensions are so high in society, I just think it's kind of the same pressure in like a wartime where, you know, huge technological innovations come because just like diamonds, you know, the universe under huge amounts of pressure. That's the same as like, you know, World War II. They had to have tremendous amounts of innovation. I feel like we're going to go through that same thing, but not with physical weaponry, but with like a mental state of consciousness, because we're putting so much pressure on like human beings. Our diets aren't good enough. Like a human being, right? We're born on this planet. Let's forget everything else and just say we're born here like everyone else. The plant in the corner, the ants on the ground. We're not meant to sit in a concrete building and miss all the sunlight. I don't think. And I'm not a rocket scientist, and I don't have a university degree, but something tells me you could put as many university degree professors, whatever, in front of me, and they're not going to be able to prove me right on that. Like prove against that.
And we're probably not meant to eat chemicals.
Something tells me we're not really meant to eat. So it's sort of like all these something's kind of giving me a hint, and that sort of something is logic. So like all these people are trying to like slam non-logic in your face. You're like, shush, like just something so noisy. Like, can't we just think clearly for a second? And I feel like that's what everyone's kind of just like, shut the fuck up. Like no one's got any integrity for the news, right? Let's say. Like I personally, I don't watch it or anything, but I mean like, I feel the sentiment, the heartbeat of humanity's changed over the past, let's say 12 months or 18 months or something. I don't know whether it was the Twitter files or all that sort of stuff, but I feel there's a sentiment shift where people are now like really, they're just not buying it.
I think it's longer than 12 months.
Probably longer than 12 months.
I think COVID fucked us all up.
COVID was the hard thing, like the hard reset where people are like, Yeah, going to a park on the Wednesday to walk the dog at lunch. You mean I don't need to sit in this office? I was like, what the fuck was I there? And that's why heaps of people have gone like, no, I'm going to move up the coast and live beautifully with my kids. And yes, I'm not living where I grew up, but I'm making a sacrifice because I'm living now and life's not challenging because I'm not buying an overpriced place in Sydney. So in Sydney, the housing market is absolutely cooked. And so it's like, a huge ratio between income capacity to what it costs to buy a home in Sydney. And it's like, 15 times the average income or maybe more or less or something. But it's just basically unattainable. So everyone now, like the dynamic is now different. People are talking about how do I live with good friends through my 30s and 40s? Like that's a thing, a conversation that people are having because it's just not as easy to live now. And I'm not saying that no one's fucked it up. I mean, you're sure the money and all that stuff. It's just, this is the game. These are the cards we're dealt. Like we can like point and blame. I get it in. We need to fix that. It's like, look, some people grew up in a time where they were sent to war. And there's obviously different wars for every era. And there's obviously a war on money now, it feels like, or whatever is going on. But everyone's confused. There's a war on sanity, it feels like, as well. But we're just hyper stimulated. What could possibly happen if we are feeding our brains, sitting still? So we're taking all these vibrations in, all this new content, no sunlight, new content, bad food. Food's even a question mark. It's probably more like products, not food, right? And so it's like, I don't know. It's just like getting it from all angles. And I was like, oh man, dude. And then I was reading about fluoride and I was like, oh, what fluoride? This is screwed up. And then I was like, man, what an idiot drinking fluoride. And I had a glass of water and I was like, oh man, I'm such a sucker. I was like, and then in my head, I was like, yeah, I'm like standing in the shower thinking like, no, I'm never fucking drinking. I'm drinking bottled water from now on the whole time. I'm like brushing my hair. I was like, horror. Hey, motherfuckers, you got me again. But it's like, now with fluoride, or I'm like, these cunts. But I'm like, yeah, they really got you even into the shower. They're like, hello, I'm still here. And I'm like, yeah. Anyway,
so you've had all this time to think.
I had all this time to think. Try and think.
Is there but not to be hyperbolic and an annoying Bitcoin fucking idiot, but is there like a Bitcoin lens to all this? Has it like...
Yeah, it's all Bitcoin. Yeah. All Bitcoin lens, basically. And I'll tell you what it is. It is what happens when the block rewards run out, right?
Yeah.
That's the big question. Oh, that's a big question.
It's a big question on Twitter this week.
Well, they're all like, they're wasting their time. Where are the coins going to go? The coins can't go anywhere. So people are like, we're going to have to issue new coins. Why? We have coins already. It's like, oh, but they're my coins. Sure. You're one of, let's call it 500 million people that will be using this network. You're not going to give yours up. No worries. But it's really cheap to pay off the future. Like right now, if we wanted to build, we can throw our coins forward into the future. Let's call it my brother and I. Yeah, I have. Yeah. And it's there actually. We can throw our coins forward into the future. It's like a miner. Think of Bitcoin miners like Magellan or Columbus sailing through the ocean. It's really dark. They would be much more successful if there was a lighthouse at the end of if there was lighthouses or buoys along the way, like checkpoints, right? They'd know where they're going. So the miners in the future, there's going to be no block reward. So if we can say, guys, there's money here though. So keep fucking around on the network. Yes, there's no block reward, but we've made a block reward, which is we've locked all these, treasure chests of Bitcoins along the way, just in the same structure as the block reward. It's basically 1/100th. So it's like instead of 50 Bitcoins, which would be 5 billion Bitcoin for the first cycle, it's 50 million Satoshis. So it's half a Bitcoin. So it's 1/100th of the initial schedule. But yeah, the idea is that miners now have an incentive. So even if you're a miner, like this is 50 million times the block reward from the previous block halving, which is 1 Satoshi. So that means the people 4 years before that, when they were getting 2 Satoshis, they're going to be excited about this. The people before that, we're getting 4. Everyone's going to be looking to this. I would hope if I'm a miner, they want this. A miner is going to have a dictionary of these kind of treasure chest maps, these coordinates of like, okay, this public key, that private key's got money locked in this block. We're about 100 blocks away from that, so we need to keep an eye on this. We're going to want to like scoop that on, block 7 million or whatever. And they'll have these checkpoints, and that's going to be these like breadcrumbs or treats for a dog. When when you're trying to train a dog to walk up the stairs, and you put the treats on the steps. Same thing. You want to incentivize the behavior. Now, it might not. People might go, fuck this, I'm not doing that. So whatever, dude, fine. We're just trying new shit. Like we don't know what's going to happen. See, the thing is with Bitcoin, the reason why it's different is because we can't break it. And I know that sounds like, I'm maxi schmaxi. I'm I only like this thing because it can't break. That's its big sexy thing to me, is it's immutable. That means this is like a piece of cable going through the universe. So remember when you were little, you get a Milo tin or a can and you put a button and a string. So the string, when you stand across the field, the string's tight and I go, hello, and it goes pew, into the thing, goes across, and then comes out the other side. Hello. What if the string was like 126 million kilometers long or billion kilometers long, and it goes all the way into the future? And so when you say into the future, the Earth's moving through the universe. So it has coordinates of where it's going to be in the future. So it's kind of like if Tom Brady could stand on Earth and throw a pass to himself and catch it. So it's like you throw a pass, the Earth's still moving, and eventually the ball will land where the Earth is going to arrive, like a football player catching his own pass almost. So that's what we're doing. We're locking this transaction today, and it's going to like lock, and then it gets unlocked in time. You'll see the shitty GIFs in this shitty thread.
It's not a shitty thread.
Because I do shitty work and I'm working at shitty walk.
Dude, it's okay. Talk me through this.
Yep. Okay, so what we want to do is we want to prove a wormhole, right? Like let's imagine a physically wormhole. Let's say I've got a wormhole machine. I go, hey, there's a wormhole here. What happens? You imagine okay, there's probably a big ring and there's maybe some electrical sparks or some shit out of Doctor Strange, whatever it is. But you have to see it. And you'd have to see it. And for you to say this is a wormhole, you've got to see, one, something that can go through there. So I throw this bottle through there and you see it land on the other side, which is in, New York or something, right? Or, another planet. So we need a bottle, and we need an entry and an exit point. So as we look at that, basically, that's what this is. The entry and exit points are the time locks on the Bitcoin blockchain. So the object, we want to send a key through. Why do we send a key? Numbers. Numbers are really small. Sending a car is really big. I don't have technology to do that. No one does. But the difference between a car and a number isn't much, because sending a private key, when you generate a private key, it's cryptographically proven that mathematical equation, there's nothing else to it, just this math equation. But when you generate it on your computer, an electrical spark happens to make that operation. So that key is physically tied to that electrical spark on your electrical grid. Now, we can't see it, but actually that whole operation happened, and that's a thing. And so the idea is like, well, we can take this key, and if everyone has it, then we can't put it through a wormhole, but we can just ensure its survival long enough to get until the other side of basically this transaction, which is 120 years away now. So yeah, it's not sending a spaceship. With the first message on the internet, the first message they ever sent, do you know what it was? LO, I think. Yeah, it was meant to be log in, but it broke after sending 2 letters. Yeah, true story. But that shows how far we've come, right?
You've created an experiment that you won't get to see proven.
Yeah, I know.
Well, unless
Well, to be proven, it means we have to get to block 7.14 million. Basically, we're going to get to the year 2140 before the year 2140.
Yeah, so we need some medical advancements that mean you can live forever.
Or we need the blocks to be produced much faster. So we need some breakthrough in mining algorithms, but we'll wait and see what happens. But yeah, it's unlikely that I'm going to see what's going to happen. So, yeah, if you
know about wormholes, Danny?
Yeah.
It's mathematically proven that.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah, he's like Einstein mathematically proven.
Yeah, it's all a thing.
It's the issue whether they can be stable enough for things to pass through them.
I think it's more about our perception, right? Like, we need to perceive a wormhole. So is a wormhole only physical, or what if you blink? And if I play a song to you, right, and you blink and you take in the song, and you're like, oh my God, dude, that felt like school, like prep school. Oh my God, that felt so real. Like when you hear a song and it takes you back. Well, taking you back, what is a moment in time? The only thing it can be is energy signatures. What did you hear? What did you smell? What did you taste? What did you feel? And where were you, or whatever? And that produces a thought. You think it produces a thought, but actually all it is that moment in time, wherever we are in like the universe. That's basically all the energy signals compressed into your heart, because you're just an electrical current. That's all we are. You, me, we're all the same thing, an electrical current. That light bulb, electrical current. The TV, electrical current. We just sort of manifest in different ways. But yeah, so the idea is basically if Bitcoin can't break, then any message that we put on the Bitcoin blockchain should be read by someone in the future. Now, it's like, well, there's going to be a billion messages. Why on earth would they read this? It's like, well, let's try and give them a reason to read it. And then that's why you put a big fuck off, or part of my language, but a big incentive basically for them to be like, oh my God, we need to make sure that we take this key and mine these Bitcoins and, everything keeps going smoothly. Yeah. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Does it really?
Yeah, no, it does.
You sure?
Yeah, no, I'm
okay,
with you.
cool. Yeah, thanks. I'm glad you're with me. Okay, so this is the shitty gift, but basically the Earth's going to keep spinning. It's going to keep going. So Planet of the Apes, they feel like they've landed on a new planet. It's like actually it's just Earth really far ahead in time or whatever it was. And so we can see that basically we could travel all the way or could make a little wormhole. So I actually did have slides, but anyway, you can keep going. This is a shitty GIF anyway, but the idea is basically we do the Bitcoin blockchain because it's the only ledger that we've got certainty at the moment that will be around in the future. Now, the only way it's not going to be around is if, we turn it off for whatever reason we want to turn it off. And so, the idea was to have these timestamps for Earth. And now how will we know where Earth is? We've got a block height of when I did it, which was from that voice recording of when I sent it to you before. And then the other block is going to be around Earth 2156. And so what we're using is Bitcoin's block height because it's really hard to bullshit. We can't bullshit that. And everyone's got the same block height at the same time. So we're using that kind of like our Z-axis. So if you've got a latitude and longitude on Earth, it's like that's the, where were you on the planet? But it's like where was the planet through the universe? And so we'll use the block height to kind of be our yardstick for that.
Okay.
And then if we keep going down, okay, so signal attenuation. So remember holding our cup, remember standing on the other side of the field. Now, what would happen if that field was 4 kilometers long? You probably wouldn't get the message. It goes, it doesn't have enough oomph, right? So that's why we've got Wi-Fi routers in our house to give like the signal to kick up the arse, because signal attenuation is where the signal drops off, basically. Like how long does it take to drop off? So if you carve something into an unbreakable ledger, it doesn't drop off ever. So that's like being able to send a message to a telephone line that doesn't have a telephone pole on the other side and just saying whoever plugs in this side of the telephone line is going to get one message. And it's only the message. It's the only thing coming out of here. So I think that's kind of an interesting way to think about the Bitcoin blockchain when you think about it like, oh shit, this is basically a diary that everyone can write in and no one can change. So does that make sense, by the way?
No,
all right, cool. So we put half a Bitcoin in there and we've done total of I think there's a total of 17 transactions into the future. So they're all locked there. The idea is to put 34 there, so one for each halving to show the cadence of the halvings. But it's just another way to kind of mitigate any potential FUD, not FUD, but the idea that, we've got to increase the block size. Well, not really, because we can achieve a lot today because the cost of 50 million, people will flick, 100 sats here. I get, there's walking apps where they'll pay you 400 sats if you walk a mile or something. People are farting around sats like they're going out of fashion right now. And that's fine. And I get it. That's cool. But just think about every single sat is 10 minutes in the future. And at the time, think of the weight of the network. If it hasn't broken by then or whatever, it's going to be astronomical. It's like a black hole of Earth's energy. Well, let's say, potentially anyway. So I just thought it was an interesting idea. And I thought maybe it sparked some creativity on how to think about time a bit differently, or to actually think about keys as electrical currents. And sort of get that conversation going a bit, because I think right now we're going to start looking at keys like they're more real than we thought they were, because as we start losing who we are, so as you start losing your likeness, you start holding on to what is yours more and more, right? So if people start copying your tats, your this, your that, you're like, well, fuck, hang on, leave something for me. And your key is going to be the last thing that's left. And so the idea is, what is your key, or what keys are you? And so, make it a really big incentive. Make sure they really want to look at it. This meme down below, it looks pretty, sort of tells the story really TLDR. We've got a big mining incentive. And so the idea is that you come back to Earth in 120 years and hopefully people are basically trying to open this, or they're trying to hang on to the key. And
so your idea is that what is a relatively small amount now
can be drastically impactful
in the future.
Yes.
So high that even if you have a bunch of blocks with little to no reward in between, it's worth getting into that.
They're still this is a whole new stratosphere. People will start mining 50 years before to comprehend, because they know that this bounty is coming, and it's an absolute certainty that it's coming unless something happens. But I'm not sure.
But it does require people to constantly pay forward, like you've done. You're paying forward.
Sure. Yep.
And if other people do that, great.
Yep. And sure, we can't rely on that, but I definitely think that, if Bitcoin, if it's given one person something enough that they think, oh, you know what? It's like Trevi Fountain. That's what my brother calls it, Trevi Fountain, flicking the coin into the future and just hoping, what happens. But the weird thing is, if that's true, like let's think about, let's say you and I are talking and it's 1905 and we're sitting there at a cafe talking. And now we know, let's say you turn out to be really famous, right? We know that people would want to know what we were talking about because they want to know everything that you've spoken about, but you didn't have your whole life digitized then. So in the future, people are probably going to watch this episode because the archives of the internet will exist most likely because the data is just going to persist forever. So they'll be watching this being like, oh, okay, so that's sort of what the go was with it. All right, well, his maths is totally wrong and he sounds retarded, but thanks for the free coins or whatever the response is. It doesn't matter. But, either way, it's sort of like just something to make you think, because now it's sort of the question is, well, if you can do that, then every person now, and not only that means that coin's out of circulation. So we got half a Bitcoin that is 100% not there anymore. So you can do a number of how that's sort of risen the value of everyone else's coins, but it can become a double-edged sword really quickly where we have these certainty of time-locked coins that are out of circulation. And now you have the masses have the ability to delete money, not print money. And so you kind of think of this, it becomes a weird dynamic, but I don't know. I think people are going to get so much value from this in more than one way, just not like financial value, but they'll see a lot of themselves or grow in their own way. And they'll want to do something for the future, I reckon, to say, hey, thanks, this was a mad journey I went on. I think a lot of people will be like that.
So what's the goal here is that you want to inspire a lot of people to start throwing sats into the future.
That's a one way to make sure that they've got a reward in the future, for sure. I think the other was just sort of connecting the relationship between numbers and physical energy displacement.
Right.
And so I think that was just sort of how much weight. So I'll give you an example. Let's say tomorrow morning, Satoshi's coins moved.
Yeah.
I can guarantee you, and I'm not a time traveler, but I can guarantee you what happens. I can promise you with absolute certainty that theblock.co, that website, will host something that speaks to that. I can guarantee that you will do a podcast that will have some commentary about that. And why is that? And that's because the weight of that key is so tremendous to us, the weight of it. Now, we call it weight, but it's got an aura to it. So when that does something, it's like an earthquake, a geologist shaking the earth. You see like shit's going to happen on the surface. So if we think of like media publications, Twitter, what it would be trending on Twitter if Satoshi moved his coins to Coinbase, right? So all this energy gets displaced on the surface layer, but it's very like chaotic. So if you could get an action to happen on chain that should produce a non-chaotic off-chain response or one of cohesion, then you can kind of use the chain like almost like a lens through time to say, well, in this future, you guys are going to have some problems we don't know, but we know the energy problem. If this is a ledger of energy for everyone, then we know that you're going to have one energy problem, and let's try and help them out with that. Because it's not like we're going to fix everything here tomorrow.
Yeah.
But, we might be able to fix some shit in the future. Anyway, yeah, that's... Yeah. Oh, do you want to know the story of when I did this? There's a couple of funny facts to it. So the first one I did was, I think the first transaction was on the 21st of the 10th, 2021. And then I was
that the one you messaged me about?
When I messaged you, it's just basically saying, hey, I did it. And so it was actually serendipitous that you didn't take it, because it was meant to be stolen by someone random, because that was more pure. It was more intellectually honest in that regard, where it's not like, oh, you just gave it to your mate. It's like, actually, no, some dude out there knows he stole them with absolute certainty, and I don't know who that is. But the idea is that, so that was on the 21st, and then it was on my birthday. The idea was, I've got to do 34 transactions, right? One for every block halving. So fit half a Bitcoin, then 0.25 of a Bitcoin, then 0.125, and so on and so on. So I don't know if I've sent it to you, but I've got it all, like all these transactions already logged out. But when I did it, it was my, I did the next two. So 1, 2, 3. I wanted to make it so it was a pattern or a trend so someone could see it. So the first one was done on the 21st of October. The second ones were done, the second and third ones were done on my birthday, which the block fell on my birthday. So my birthday was 7/2/2021. 2022, and that block was on my birthday. And so I was like, oh, that's perfect. That's a sign. I'll do it then. And so I did the other ones then. And then the last one was on Einstein's birthday. But to do that, I was like, okay, this is all about energy signature. I know it sounds ridiculous, but I was like, okay, if I'm electrical current, my phone's an electrical current, the blockchain's an electrical current, how do I tie all these things together? So I was like, okay, I'm going to get on my bike, ride around Centennial Park, which is over there. We'll see it tonight. It's opposite, actually. Anyway, near to, sorry, that's retarded. Let me just stop. Anyway, ride my bike around this big 3-kilometer loop, and I do it over and over while I'm on my phone sending these transactions, because I want, if the future can see all these energy signatures, they see this idiot riding around in a circle. So he's telling me, hey, I know what a circle is, meaning like, hey, I'm trying to tell you guys, I know what circles are. And then also he's like, oh my God. And you see like the bird's eye view would look like these fireworks going off into the blockchain, because I'm going, like, every 10 minutes or 20 minutes, because you got to wait for them to confirm. But then anyway, I accumulated all the days destroyed, and it weighed up to like 2.3 million total days destroyed. And that turned out to be the same size as with the pyramid blocks. And I was like, oh, that's cool, because the pyramids have got like 2.3 million stones in them, and they're just doing their thing.
Which, by the way, weirds me out, because you look at the photo of the pyramids, and you're like, there's not 2.1 million blocks in that.
Yeah, it's weird.
Like if you just looked at it, somebody said, how many blocks in that? I don't know, 10,000?
Yeah.
And it's like, what do you mean there's 2.1 million blocks?
Yeah. 440 qubits by 280 qubits high. It's a monster.
It is a monster. Yeah. Did you know about that?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just weird. It weirds me out.
Yeah. But anyway, so that's kind of the premise is like, do something. And I thought of this as, there's a lot of conversation around NFTs and stuff, right? And I think NFTs are actually, in their current state, are quite unoriginal. But this was like, well, this key exists now, and it's not a private key anymore. So it's everyone else's key. But this key is now the NFT. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So the whole work is all embedded into this one key. It's not is it a frog or is it a monkey? It's like, no, dude, this is like, this dude's been cycling for 3 hours in a circle like an absolute lemon. It's taken him 3 years to do this, and it worth this much weight, this much energy. Like, it's real. And I felt like that would be hopefully like kind of supercharge the conversation on people like, well, what do we think is cool, or what is a valuable NFT? Because like, look, monkey pictures and shit, I have no problem with them, but I just don't know that that's like the value add right now. It's sort of, it feels a bit like littering in the ocean. Like, yes, we littered in the ocean. We know it's dumb now, like, and we used to know it was okay. And I don't think it's bad. I like people trying everything, but let's get like creative, because like Bitcoin's quite sets a standard in things. And I'm like, don't gronk out. Like, like, let's make it mad. Let's make it really, really cool. I don't know. Anyway, that's the end of my shit story.
So why?
You know what? Because I wanted to build a clock. Been trying to build a clock, and the way that I thought that the lightest, strongest clock that you could build is one clock that is only, for every Bitcoin block height, it's got a wallet, a time-locked wallet. And the only thing is, it's based on one key, and you derive a block height wallet for each thing. And one person pours like all the money, pours Bitcoins into all these. And all it was is just check the address. And it's like, ding, the money's stolen. You know that you're at that block height. And then that was the lightest weight way that I could think of. If I could only have one API call to the blockchain and to Bitcoin, and I didn't know if the software was, tainted or not tainted or anything, then if I had this clock set up, I could always know that no matter what device I was using, that I could check my wallets and I couldn't be bullshitted. And so I thought that was kind of interesting, because now I get the whole weight of the Bitcoin network security in my head that, they've stolen that coin. Okay, we're up to that clock. Just like, a moment in time has been stolen from you. Well, that moment has passed. And so I thought that was quite just an interesting way, because machines are going to look at, right now we look at the sun, because the sun's the heaviest energy source locally to us. That's why our clock, like everything is set to whatever's basically the heaviest mass. So like our clocks internally, circadian rhythms and all that stuff, machines will be the same as us, where they'll look at the Bitcoin block height, like the sun in the sky. We look at the sun in the sky like, hey, it's up tomorrow. Hey, it's up now. Great, let's go. Time to start my day. My brain turns on, circadian rhythm, brrr, it all starts. Now, machines, they will look at the Bitcoin block height like, oh, cool, the sun's up again. We have a new block today. Another block has come. Because to them, objectively, it's undeniable that that's got the heaviest amount of work going into it, because of all the, brilliant companies that are smashing, like basically sucking all the energy from the grid and, developing the network security. So when you think about that, I think that's kind of cool.
So what are you going to do next?
I want to keep going with stuff like this. I really want to. I want to. I think I reckon Bitcoin's going to be the key. Here's the thing. I think Bitcoin's going to be the key ingredient to humanity going the next level to something like a unified field theory, which is basically where we know how to control every particle in the universe. And that's not that far away. I don't think. I reckon 5 years, 5 to 10 years, I'd say.
What?
Yeah, I reckon so. We're too close. I'll give you an example, right?
I know there's a lot of it's just the quantum world.
Yes, but the quantum world's all people. It's almost look, quantum world is like a 4-dimensional version of pixels, where every pixel on your screen is 2D, right? It's 2D. But you know that every pixel can develop into every state. So if you wanted to put any picture or color there, one pixel's not going to go, I can't make that color. It's designed to be able to make every shape and form that can be produced or processed. That's what a quantum. Let's think of the universe is made up of quantum particles. Quantum by quantum particle. Instead of 10 particles by 10, it's 200 billion squillion by 200 billion squillion by 200 billion squillion or whatever. And every particle can take every shape. Now, if we look at the shape of the universe, it's probably more like a multiverse because it's basically every possibility that can happen will happen. So it's sort of if you think of every timeline that you could think of and add those all up, then that's that's what a 4th dimension looks like. It's basically every possibility that you could perceive in your brain. And that's because the only things you can perceive is shit that you can draw from. You can't draw inspiration from anything other than the sensory inputs that you've already taken. And so now it becomes, well, how can ChatGPT write all this shit or be so good and so clever? Oh my God, human consciousness. It's no. It's not that if ChatGPT is conscious, it's are you conscious? Because your energy signals, if I took them all together and put them together, I could probably interpret whether this person will like Korn, Follow the Leader, or they won't like that song or whatever.
Follow the Leader.
Do you remember that?
Do you know why that's so funny? So we talked about the internet earlier.
Yes.
The first thing I searched on the internet was Korn. Yeah, so we got the internet at school, and I went in, and I was on Yahoo, and then I think it was Yahoo search.
Korn.
Korn
with a typo.
I was at school. No, I searched for Korn, and it came up. It actually predates Follow the Leader because I think it was Life is Peachy might have come out.
I think Follow the Leader was after Life is Peachy or whatever was. Their first one was really successful, and then I think that the Follow the Leader one was with all the animation, the girl with the bullet. Remember that animated video that showed the trail of the bullet, and it was really cool. And at the time, everyone was like, "Whoa!"
So in my old life, when I had a fanzine, and I started a fanzine as a kid, I interviewed Korn on their first tour of the UK.
Really?
Yeah. So I had a fanzine. I only did four issues.
Yeah.
And the first one was I got Skunk and Nancy. They were playing in Bedford. So I interviewed her. She was front cover. It's really shitty. Printed in my Tom's dad's estate agents. And then I got Biohazard for issue 2.
Yeah.
Their record company. And then Korn were playing the UK. They just released Blind.
Yeah.
They were playing Historia 2. And I phoned up the record company and I interviewed Jonathan Davis and that bassist who thinks he's a rapper. Fieldy.
Okay.
Yeah, and I interviewed
Jonathan Davis is the main dude, right?
Yeah. So I went up to the Astoria tour and I sat out and they were in their Adidas tracksuits and I sat there sat there with a dictaphone, pre-mobile phone.
Yeah.
Sat there with a dictaphone.
Like Kevin McAllister on Home Alone 2.
Yeah. and I interviewed Korn. That was that's how life went full circle. Because I did that and then I did all the advertising bullshit and came back and interviewed people.
Hey, how good is that?
It's so funny, man.
That is rad.
So funny.
Yeah, Follow the Leader.
Yeah, it's a great song, man.
Oh, I mean, I thought that was a whole era for me. I remember that was kind of
new metal.
Yeah, I was all about it. I loved it, and I really like the animation and stuff.
Do you know that song?
Yeah.
So,
But I want to know, why is Bitcoin the key to this?
Because it can't break. It doesn't break.
Why is that enough?
Because for something to persist into the future, I've got to make sure that beyond everything else. So here's the reality, right? Whether we know it or we don't know it, we like it or don't like it. The only thing that matters in anything is security. Nothing matters unless you have security, because you can't build on something and you never own something unless you secure it, right? So if security is the most important thing, then we need to make sure that, well, how do we make sure that this thing that whatever carrier pigeon we're trying to use, we need to make sure this carrier pigeon is made of steel, indestructible. He's going to fly through mountains. He's going to get shot at. He's going to get all this sort of stuff. So how do we make sure he's really strong? And that's why we put it on there. But it's also, Yeah, it's also on IPFS as well, and then there's like pointers on other networks. But basically, they're sort of fallbacks. But the idea is like it should stay unless Bitcoin breaks, and I can't see anything breaking Bitcoin unless something around prime numbers happens. But even if that happens, Bitcoin's the last thing in the world to break because it's the heaviest and the hardest. So it becomes this kind of weird thing. I don't know. Yeah,
But you're talking about like almost unlocking the key to the universe.
yeah.
And so I don't understand how we go from here to there and what role Bitcoin could possibly have in that.
Well, Bitcoin is showing us something that numbers secure a lot more than just numbers, right? They're not just numbers to us because we put so much inference on them. Like, this is my number, like, whatever the number is, the phone number, the passport number, the whatever number, we're a number, we're some number, some prime number. When you secure something, anything, see, look at that lock up there. See that lock on this web page? That's an SSL certificate. When a page comes up and goes red, that basically means the prime numbers don't match. So if they had a big sign on it, what it would say is prime number mismatch. Basically. I mean, look, I don't know if I'm spot on that, but it basically means a cryptographic error, which is usually we use cryptography, we use prime numbers for cryptography. Prime numbers, and the reason why Bitcoin, did you say why Bitcoin?
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's immutable. So if I could carve it into a rock legally, really gigantically, I would. That's why they make marble statues. That's why they made the pyramids out of stone, because they're designed to be persistent. And like if you're making something as an artwork, persistence is a huge thing, because if this is a purpose-driven project, and we're not as purpose-driven now as we used to be. Back in the day, like let's say 5,000 years ago, we would look up in the sky and galaxies and everything, because there's no smog, there's none of this stuff. Like, so it's not perfect, but it's not like now. We had a reason to look up, and we had a reason to be curious, and all that. Imagine how much more we're looking up back then. Now think about how much more intelligent those people are in terms of their consciousness. They understand themselves better than anything, especially better than now, because they have so much less noise trying to tell them who they are. All they've got to do is survive and then be themselves. And so when you think about all these people from back then that have basically everything that's been good has been persistent, and like the pyramids are a great example of that. And they're like a big mathematical sort of flex, in my opinion. Like what the pyramids are sort of saying is we kind of knew everything already. And that's how it looks to me.
Do you mean because they like face true north and all the
So when you build something, right, if you're building something with purpose, like let's say I'm an architect and you're the pharaoh, and I'm like, oh, and Pharaoh's like, I need to have the biggest penis in history, and you're like, all right, cool, Pharaoh. Like, hey, get me Mike, the architect. Hey, Pharaoh, what's up? You're like, oh, you are talking this massive project you're talking about? Yeah, what are you thinking? Big statue? No, dude. Massive pyramid. Hear me out. We're going to make it 440 by 280. Massive? Oh, why 440 by 280? I don't know. I'm just pulling my finger out. No, we're getting 20,000 years worth of slave labor right now, where every single number that is in this thing has a purpose, right? If you're doing anything that takes 20 years, you're not going to be like, 287 feet or something. It's going to be, no, this is it. This is why. Because the pharaoh is going to go, why'd you do that number? Boss. Because of this. And he's like, yeah, I don't mind that. All right, cool. I like that. And so they've encoded all this stuff. That's why you look at the size of them. So Nikola Tesla, who it's very well documented that he liked the pyramids. He was like, oh, damn, that's cool. And he was like, everyone was like, why do you like the pyramids? They're a power plant and shit. Yeah, sure, maybe, blah, blah, blah. But the reality was, if you do, 440 and 280, but if you divide those together, I think you get 136, 36, 36, 36, and this harmonic resonance, basically. And that's what Nikola Tesla was all about. He's like, dude, these numbers are talking to us, guys. And everyone was like, no, you're an idiot. Like, he's like, bro, you're making everything really, really difficult by inventing all these new words. Strong nuclear force, weak nuclear force, blah, blah. No one's ever heard of those on anywhere else but Earth. And so if we're actually trying to play ball like a real civilization, like at a universal scale, no one's got English. They don't have bytecode and passcode and all whatever these tap knock things are that we send into the universe. They've got numbers. That's why the number line is like the time machine.
Hold on. So you're basically saying numbers are the one common language through everything.
Everywhere.
Everywhere.
So if an alien species, let me tell you something.
They will have the same language they have, because math is, they will discover math in the same way, but language, the way they communicate, can be entirely different.
Totally arbitrary.
But math will be the same everywhere.
Well, this is the thing. So we invented invented math again. So what comes down to it? It comes down to just numbers. And so the math becomes addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. Everything else, all these exponential numbers, complex numbers, and all this bullshit, it's all real and very real, but it's sort of like very real, relevant to us, and it teaches us stuff.
But hold on, if there are alien civilizations out there,
yep,
we send out signals into space.
Yeah.
We look, SETI is looking for their signals. For them to be able to send signals out, they will have to have discovered the same math.
Well, they would have to have been using the same technology. So it's like, how could the Egyptians receive microwave technology or radio technology? They didn't have that stuff, right? We can, and we think, oh, that's mad. We're the kings of the universe. No. Everyone has numbers. Numbers is the dick measuring contest for any civilization. And you know what the dick measuring contest is? Pardon the language, but it's basically, if aliens come here, they ask one question to our leader and they go, what's the biggest prime number you know? That's the only question they ask, because every other technical innovation is on the back of prime number factorization, because that's the first thing, it's the most important thing in the world to us as a species.
Why is that?
Because that's the hardest thing, basically. It's the hardest security policy. And the reason why we have prime numbers for security is because prime numbers are hard to find if you're trying to look for them, because they don't have divisors. Divisors are basically, the number 6 is divisible by 3 and 2. That's a divisor. And so how do you find the number 6? Well, if I find the number 3 and I find the number 2, then I've found the number 6, right? Does that make sense? You're finding these wormholes,
sort of
literally like shortcuts through numbers.
Yeah.
And so if you've got prime numbers, they're hard to find because they're divisible by only one of themselves. So multiplication and divisors, that's almost a hint. When you know that you can't find the next number through all the divisors that you've got, you know that the next number has to be prime, because a prime number is something there's no set of divisors beneath it. Let's say I've got the number 7. There's no combination from 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, the divisors of those numbers, that can find the number 7, basically. Yeah. And so...
All right, let's test you. What's the largest prime number known?
I don't know, but 2 to the 84,000 minus something minus
not
1.
Far.
Mersenne is a Mersenne prime.
2 to the 82,500. Okay.
Yeah.
So it was discovered December 2018.
29 million digits.
It has 24,862,048 digits.
Yeah. See, I think what we'll do is we'll look at prime numbers a bit differently. So we look at them like numbers, and we're brute forcing them now, like we're Bitcoin mining, brute forcing, right? Just we're smashing them together. And so when we first actually tried to split the atom, right? Because if you think about a prime number, it's something that's divisible by 1 in itself, which means there's no ingredients in it. So what doesn't, like we used to think that we can't split the atom because there's no ingredients to an atom. But we figured out that we went, not literally, but we split it, and then we're like,
this shit fell out.
Hey, all this cool stuff fell out. It's like cracking open like an Easter egg or something. And so the way that we split it was we just basically brute forced it. It actually is funny because it almost looks like this mining nonce pattern that we have. But what happens is basically they get all these, I don't even know what they were shooting at, uranium or whatever they do, and they have basically a whole bunch of the candidates that they're trying to split, and they just smother this with just millions of bullets of this stuff, hoping to split them. And so it's quite uncontrolled, like it's quite unelegant in that regard, but it achieves the outcome. And so I think prime numbers is kind of that same thing, where we thought we couldn't split the atom, but I think we'll find a way to sort of split them in a different, we'll split them per se, which means we can know exactly their ingredients and understand them perfectly. But I think it's going to change a lot.
Prime numbers are infinite.
Is what?
Prime numbers are infinite.
I mean, that's
an infinite
they don't
number.
even know that. They say there's infinitely many primes. And then, so one of the biggest things I think, which will be the biggest clues, like the twin prime conjecture, which they kind of say there's infinitely many. A twin prime is something that's, imagine a number in the middle. It's got 2 numbers hanging off it like a scale.
Yeah.
And they're both primes, basically.
Okay.
So any number is plus or minus 1. Take one step that way, prime. One step that way, prime. And that's the idea is like, is there infinitely many of those, or is there a finite amount? I'm absolutely certain. I feel like,
but there must be infinite, because
there's got to be infinite.
Because
many,
if there's
you
infinite,
infinitely count numbers. Like we can keep processing a higher amount of information. Then, if we can keep processing a higher amount of information, then surely it doesn't just stop at 20 zillion. There's got to be a whole bunch of primes waiting on the other side when we get more computational power. Yeah. So, and I think then it becomes sort of an exercise of, this is going to keep going, guys, unless you figure out why they are there or what they are. So it's like you keep counting them. It's like, hey, we've counted 1 million of them. It's like, do you know what they are yet?
So could AI and computer power get so strong, so powerful that it could find any number of
I reckon humans will do it first.
Humans will do it first.
And a human being, not a machine controlled by a human being.
Will do what?
I think they'll be able to factor primes faster than computers in the future. I think we'll have all this information that we're taking in. We don't know what we're taking in. You ever hear of people like autistic savants? They have an accident, like they get hit in the head with a baseball, and they can all of a sudden convert any language they've heard, like any music language, into a piano language, right? Mm-hmm. Piano's got keys, music has no, they translate it. Drawing, mathematics, like all these guys, a lot of them, British guy, Daniel Tammet, he was probably the most famous one because he could communicate the best out of all the autistic savants. So he recited pi to like 20,000 digits or something in a day. Like took him like 4 hours of just going, dut, 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 but it's like all from memory. Like it's unbelievable. So I reckon humans are capable of these, let's call them superpowers, where they're ultra purpose-driven focused. Now the autistic savants give us a hint that it's possible to have this astronomically unperceivable ability to do something that we all can't do, but they can't tie their shoes, for example. So this guy, Daniel Tammet, was saying, everyone thinks like I'm really smart, but I look at Michael Schumacher and I think, oh my God, how does he know how to drive a car? Because he can't drive a car. Right. And so, but you like, oh, I can drive a car. Oh, what idiot can't drive a car? It's like, well, we don't know. Everyone's brains are wired so differently. It's fascinating now. If you check this out, you're going to lose faith in humanity, but check out high school kids' analog clocks. They don't know how to read an analog clock.
Yeah, I guess.
Because they haven't been taught how to read an analog clock. So it then becomes what do you mean? It's just intuition. Like obviously the short, it's like, no. Intuition's not there. We think everything's intuitive. It's like, no. It's because it's been smacked in your face 100 times, you know what I mean? And we don't kind of realize, we take that for granted. But anyway, all this kind of boils down to, so I wanted to touch on one thing about the Tesla things, right? So we're talking about Tesla before. This is worth talking about, I reckon. Tesla and Einstein. So Einstein was asked, what does it feel like to be the smartest man in history? And he goes, I don't know. You'd have to ask Nikola Tesla. So obviously that's a pretty you know how smart Einstein is.
Yeah.
And you're like, but he's very humble and stuff like that, as is Tesla, or at least that's how it reads, right? I don't know them personally, but from everything I've read, it seems like they are. And so very humble, but for someone so brilliant to say that, he must perceive in his mind that he is so far behind what this guy is thinking that it is truly just like, he's like, that's a different level.
He had imposter complex.
Yeah.
Einstein,
imagine, dude. Oh my God. But the reason why is because, and so like Tesla was said to say about Einstein, he basically says, I can't remember what the exact. I could find it if you wanted.
I'll pull it up here.
But it's actually, I think it's worth actually looking at because this is quite. I don't know if this is he said, she said, obviously, but I think it's actually accurate. Yeah, okay, so let's go. Einstein's relativity work is a magnificent mathematical garb which fascinates, dazzles, and makes people blind to the underlying errors. The theory is like a beggar clothed in purple whom ignorant people take for a king. Its exponents are brilliant men, but they are metaphysicists rather than scientists. Oof. Like that's a pretty scathing, right? And look, this dude didn't seem like a scumbag, but now, so Einstein's whole equation was E equals MC.
Hold on. So what? So basically, Tesla thought Einstein's relativity work was bullshit.
No, he goes, yeah, it's all true, but like, dude, you've done it the hardest way possible. Like, this is the most, you've constructed all these like different terms on everything. When Tesla basically only studied numbers and Einstein's studying science. See, numbers are the tool that everyone has. So like Satoshi with no pre-mine, numbers are like that. Everyone gets them out of the box. When you come into Earth, everyone gets a set of numbers. We all get the same set of numbers. And so it becomes a tool that
What does that mean? I don't know what that means.
You just count to 10.
Oh, I see. Okay.
You get the same set of numbers as I do. So I can look at them just like you can. I can write them down. And I can, let's think of the number line like a textbook. We all get that out of the box. So we can look at it, we can analyze it however we want, whenever we want. And so some people analyze it more than others. And we don't have a need to analyze it now. But anyway, so the long story short is like, basically, he rinsed him pretty hard in that regard. And so I'll tell you, I actually tell you why. I'll tell you why. Look, I'm not shilling my shit, but just let me shill my shit for 1 second. I promise you. Go to github.com or just type GitHub Mike D123.
Whoa, look at that quote. I'm even grateful to Einstein and others because through their
erroneous theories. Energy?
Hold on.
Oh, yeah, go back.
Let me just, erroneous theories, they led mankind away from...
Yeah.
What was it from?
Yeah,
they led mankind away from the dangerous path I followed. What was
So
his
basically, Tesla's studying numbers, and he's gone, "Oh, mad! Numbers are everything." So that's basically what Tesla's landed on. Numbers are everything, and they're like, "No, no, no! The Higgs boson, the nuclear force," and Tesla's like, "Bro, these are all just made up. Like, you're not speaking the language of the universe. Every person in the universe is speaking numbers. Everyone is not speaking strong nuclear force, weak nuclear force, atoms, atom smashes, Higgs boson. No, 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 never heard of it, never heard of it. Why are you talking to me? Don't bother, don't bother. You're not on the same playing field." Does that make sense?
Yes.
So Tesla said that. So now let's go to energy. And this sounds stupid, but go down to.
Hold on, was that AI you?
Pardon?
Was that AI
Yeah. It's, so go to unconventional transitivity. And so basically I was trying to say, why is Tesla and Einstein arguing over this shit? Like, how wrong could they be or how right could they be? Tesla's the number guy and Einstein's made that. So look at those equations. So scroll up.
Hold on, is this a paper you've written?
Yeah. So the transitivity of amps, transitivity means, if I set my clock and then you set your clock from my clock, our clocks are in sync transitively, right? So that's what I mean. Yeah. So what I'm saying is Einstein's equation, E equals mc squared, yeah, that's right, it makes sense. And the area of a circle, which is pi r squared, those are the same equations. One says m, one says pi. And now the first thing you think is, oh, but m and pi aren't the same thing. Pi is 3.14. It's a fixed value or whatever. So now the other thing is that that's not actually the case. Pi and mass are related through what's called phase space. So and there's a really beautiful video that I put in the time traveling article that I wrote about phase space, because what happens is, and when I say phase space, what I mean is if you have two blocks, right? Two big heavy blocks like sliding hockey pucks, right? Big heavy, one's heavy, one's lighter. 100 kilos, 1 kilo. When they slide, the heavy one pushes this one into a wall, right? Tick, 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 and it pushes this over until it bounces back. That cumulative amount of back and forth will add up to the mass will produce a phase space, which is what is the length of the rebounds basically that push back and forth as it's getting pushed into a wall. Does that make sense?
Kind of, but keep going.
Well, you smack like 3 blue, 1 brown, which is the best mathematical videos on earth. They did a video on this, which is stunning. If you ever wanted to watch it, just literally, and it's got the best sound effects you've ever heard. Anyway, what I'm saying is this is why Tesla is like, yo, the area of a circle is pi r squared. And everyone's like, yeah, mathematical this, blah, blah. He's like, yeah, equals mc squared is right, but it's a circle, guys. And everyone's like, no. He's like, okay, guys, it's the same equation. And everyone's like, no, you don't know what you're talking about. Like,
hold on. Are you the first to say it's the same, or is somebody else previously?
I'm showing you it's the same.
No, but
I've never heard people talk about this personally. I've been trying to find people to talk about this because I'm really interested in this.
Okay, so look, I understand the equation for a circle, right?
Yes.
How is E equals mc squared a circle?
Okay, so let's say c squared. What is c squared, right? Pass your pen. Let's do this. This is going to be great. Okay, so now I'll do it towards you, right? So we'll draw a circle. Now let's just imagine that's our circle. Mm-hmm. So there's the center of our circle. What's that going to be? That's the radius, right? And so what would we call this? If we're using this equation, what would we call the E one? So if this is our circle for E, you're telling me how is E equals to mc squared a circle, right? So let's say, well, what is this distance? We're going to say that's the radius. So that's the radius, and we call that c squared. Is that right? Yeah?
Yeah.
So that's the blast radius. So imagine now, now we're trying to think about c squared and light in the form of a circle. So let's say you have the universe before there's anything in the universe, and we put one atom, one particle in it, and it's got an electrical current in it. The moment we put that particle, it was dead black, nothing in the universe. We control the universe, right? We're hypothetical. Nothing, dead black. Now I put one particle in the center. It emits a light, right? It has to because it's got a current on it. Or it's got a current through it. And now we've got some sort of, is there going to be any light? But this occupies space. What it does, because we had total space, now total space minus one little thing where the particle's now occupying, right? We injected it into the middle of this fake universe that we have, right? So that particle is going to have a mass of m, right? So it's m. And what is the blast radius of the light that particle is affecting? Well, in 1 second, its blast radius is however far light can travel in 1 second. Like if you had a grenade and you said, what's the blast radius of a grenade? However far this grenade, like let's think of that m as our grenade. This is the blast radius of the grenade, right? If m is a particle, then the light distance that it can travel in a second is like the blast radius of the light affecting anything. And if light's the one affecting it, then that becomes the equation. Like that's where this equation is a circle, because you have m times c squared, and pi and m are related. So if we say, well, depending what m is relative to something else, then we can use this phase space stuff we were just talking about before to show the relationship between m and pi. And so now we have, well, what's r squared? R squared, I've just shown you, r squared is exactly like light. It's the same thing. It's the blast radius, right? Does it make sense? Like I think the light analogy kind of gets there.
I'm hearing it all.
Okay,
I'm so out of my depth.
Oh, there's no, but that's what I mean. There is no depth. That's the thing. It's ultra simple. I'm trying to make it like, that's why. So remember Tesla, the purple garb, this is something dressed up as something. So that's it. How much do you affect around you? That's the equation. So what's your E? Your E is whatever your mass is times light. Because if I injected the Peter, you into this black tank, it'd be like, whatever your mass is times the blast radius is going to be how much light can be like you can affect. And that's why you see like, what's the Leonardo da Vinci dude? The Peruvian man or Vitruvian man or whatever it's called? The circle dude, he drew that. Yeah. It's like a blast radius, basically. Same thing. Like, how far can you reach with light?
Hold on. Isn't E equals mc squared? What is it? It's not a sphere.
It's not a sphere. That would be, I think, a circle, right?
Well, a sphere is like a 2D. It's a circle.
Yeah.
3D. It's a sphere.
Right. Exactly.
And and they're both a sphere in 3D.
Yes. Yeah.
I mean, like, I don't understand it.
I
don't know what you're talking about.
No, I think it's interesting.
But like, I don't even know this side of you.
Oh, dude, I don't either. And I found like I just looked at numbers heaps because I was like, well, with Wyre, it's obviously a big infrastructure company at the time. And so security becomes this huge thing. And like the team were really conscious about it and taught me a lot about, just what to look for and how to secure stuff. And you have to think like, well, what is the things you need to secure? You have to get very granular and think very modularly about, how things affect it. But I just thought, look, in the world, in the future, there's going to be more of a conversation between electricity and numbers. And like, just like Bitcoin and nonces and finding hashes, that's a proof of work timestamp in a physical world connected to a number on chain.
Hold on. So the reason you care about this is because E equals mc squared has the energy component.
I think what it's going to do is prove to us that, and I think Bitcoin's going to be the prover where we realize that, oh my God, everything affects everything kind of thing. And we've got kind of equations to find equilibrium where we can say, well, here's the thing with this. If you study physics, but you don't know anything about some other category, if you have equations that are transitive that can be borrowed from each thing, then you don't need to learn. You can learn faster, right? If we found every single industry, chemistry, biology, physics and stuff, if they all had a same common formula of behaviors, we'd be like, oh my God. Because now those fields, let's call them fields, they're industries, but let's say whatever the fields exist within those industries. So like colors, like if we blend two colors together, right? You get one color, red, purple, whatever, you put it together, you got a new color. So if we put all these fields together, we have one field now because they're all transitively the same, right?
Hold on, you're doing theory of everything.
Well, I want a unified field theory. I want it really badly because I think we can get heaps far as like a...
How you doing, by the way?
So you said before, I mean, I'm lost, but loving
I'm so lost.
Sorry. No, it's great. But you said before, like you thought that basically we could unlock the keys to the universe within the next 10 years, 5 years. I can't remember exactly.
I reckon someone will. I reckon...
Is this it though?
Well, what does it actually... Hold on.
I don't think this is it, but I think something along these lines. Like, I think I would be really hard pressed. Actually, you know what? I would guarantee that there is no I don't think there'd be a unified field theory that doesn't involve the words prime numbers. I don't think that's possible because they're the only common ingredient. You can't have something unifying all the fields if it's using something that isn't in the field. So do you, in a way,
is it even possible to know kind of the thing we have to discover to get there?
Well, this is the thing.
Well, we know
this is the thing. I think I believe that prime numbers are the thing we're not looking at, that we should be looking at.
And in terms of finding those prime numbers, is that like a pattern recognition thing?
Yes. Well, this is the thing. This is why they're so hard, is because there is no pattern. And so we believe that there's no pattern because it's one or itself.
But you said there was a pattern before.
Well, this is, I think, is like there's a predictable behavior with primes. That's why we have, C.P. William, I think, was a guy who wrote a formula on how to discover the nth prime number. It's a really big formula, but it's funny because this formula that involves just prime numbers, it involves like trigonometry and geometry and all these kind of other sort of non-related things that people would balk at on first glance, maybe. But I think that's the key ingredient.
Where is it? Is broke? Is it? I know I've heard where it's broken. Is it like between they haven't managed to unify quantum and gravity?
Like you're trying to unify, their own made up words, basically.
Yeah.
Like, so it's sort of like, that's not unified. It's like, why? Because the made up word that you talked about.
And that's why you need math, because math is.
No. But maths is still like, we're still making shit up.
Okay.
The names they're all named after someone that that still exists and stuff. But I'm saying those numbers, that's the canvas. That's the final, that's the arena, let's say. Every civilization that's come past, present, or future, they know the arena and its numbers. The arena ain't, what are we going to do about, spending more money? It's like, bro, we're all meant to be on the same page. We're all electrical currents. We're all stuck on the same planet last time I checked. And there's not anyone around. We don't have many neighbors by the looks of it. What the fuck are we arguing for?
So
you know what I mean? Like, it's kind of like, what?
When you say controlling every atom within the universe,
well, it's sort of you understand the behavior of every particle in the universe, let's say.
Okay.
Yeah.
What can be done with that? Like, are you talking about having the ability to control your position in space and time?
No, I think it's less like that and more like you can produce energy signatures. So let's say an energy signature is just like a Bitcoin digital signature. It's a trail, like you drive a boat through the water, it leaves an energy signature. Oh, actually, I'll show you. Let's do this. I promise you, this is not chill. Go back to GitHub. So all this shit's in the energy folder, by the way. Just go back to the main energy page. I'll show you. It's all super easy to understand as well.
Is anyone, by
call the twist. Click on the twist. So yeah, there's a thing called, in thermodynamics, there's a thing called thermal equilibrium. So click on number 2, the energy signatures 2. So this is actually quite helpful. We can go, I'll rip through it super quick. All right, thermal equilibrium. So thermal equilibrium is where, you've got one, let's say 2 cups and they're connected. And one cup has got cold water in it, and then on the other one you pour hot, and then they find an equilibrium over time. They find the same temperature across all the cups. So what we're trying to do is say, well, if instead of cups, let's try and find thermal equilibrium between different industries or different verticals, let's say. So you got numbers, thermodynamics, and cryptography. So we go down, energy signatures. Just like a normal signature, it's a unique representation of something that happened. A footprint in the sand doesn't tell me that someone drove a car across the sand, and I don't have a time machine to go back in time, but what I can do is assume that a footprint in the sand was made by a person walking across the sand. Same thing, a shadow in the sand, I could assume that there's people standing there because it looks like a shadow, and a melted cup of ice or a melted block of ice next to a partial block of ice, I would know is the temperature must have gone up in this environment. Now, that's thermal equilibrium we're talking about is obtained when touching objects with the system reach the same. That was the example I just gave with hot water and cold water. Now, if we keep going down, I might just keep going down a bit. So we look here, energy signature. So numbers leave an energy signature. Just like in thermodynamics, we leave an energy signature.
Wait, what's the energy signature from numbers?
Well, that's what they're a number of divisors. The sum of all the divisors,
okay.
Sum of proper divisors, and the complete list of divisors. Because remember, a number is only produced, it's made up, like its chemistry is. So
that would be
divisors.
2 for 6. That would be 2 and 3.
Right. Yeah. It's 2, 3, 6, and 1 or whatever. Because yeah. But yes, exactly. And so then you got cryptography. The public key is the energy signature, and we verify a public key by verifying the energy signature because that took electricity. So scroll down a second. Sorry, I don't know.
No.
Is this rude to ask?
No, this is great.
No, cool. I just didn't want to bore you guys. So thermodynamics are the concepts of energy, I refer to them. So stealth boat. So remember James Bond, Tomorrow Never Dies, Pierce Brosnan. Q is like, how the fuck do we detect a stealth boat? He goes, well, just like a nuclear warhead or whatever, we can't detect it by its radar, but we can detect it by its wake. And so that's what we look at. We detect those things by wake. A sonic boom, a burnt down house. Are you going to tell me what happened there? I don't think that house died in a snowstorm. How can you tell me that? Well, you can't tell me that, but I can't guarantee that, but I can sort of almost guarantee that because it looks like it burnt down and it looks like it's summer in the photo. So it doesn't mean you don't need all the context, but you can make pretty meaningful assumptions of what happened in certain moments. So you see 3 cups separated. We got the cold and the water. This is the shitty explanation I gave before. What happens to the new temperature? Ta-da, we always get a new temperature. That new temperature looks purple, I think, equilibrium. And that's where everything's sort of found its harmonic. Sorry, I've got really lazy with I'm really bad with the editing and stuff. So if you see, this is obviously hot trash. But I was basically imagining these connective points are like connective tissues through different states of a system. So if you keep going down, sorry. Oh man, look how shitty my work is. I can't believe I put this stuff on. Oh, mate.
It's fine.
Nah, it's trash. But it's fine. I'm fine. I'm fine with trash. Like I'm used to trash, so it's good for me. But and then we keep going down. This is sort of more of the same. Okay, so numbers. So I think this is super interesting. This is like the wake of numbers. So let's keep going down. Numbers like these are divisor plots. So there's work done by this guy called Jeffrey Ventrella. He's stunning. Like his work is stunning, and he's a really nice guy. And basically, he's got this really, really amazing software where we look at, it's called divisor plot, and it's basically a way to scan through all the divisors. And you look at the number line. See, this is what we're looking at. These are all numbers along the top, and these are the divisors below it. And so one of the things is a scroll of twin primes. So if we zoom
this would be a prime with the purple line coming down.
The ones with the purple lines because they don't have divisors. That's right. And so that's a twin prime. And so we're like, well, hang on, where are all these twin primes hanging out? And then if we look, like here's an example of the conditions with the divisors. So every single time we see these primes occur, we see the same set of divisors occur, at least the best to my knowledge. So I'm like, okay, cool. Well, can someone tell me when this pattern stops? Because if the pattern stops, then it means it basically, if the pattern stops, it means it's not a rule. But if the pattern doesn't stop, then it means it's a rule to the universe, basically. And so what I think we're seeing is like prime numbers are almost like the inheritance of magnetism from the field. Like if we're in a three-dimensional universe and we call our universe one of a 4-dimensional multiverse, right? So every possibility gets wrapped up into this 4D universe. Think of it like an HD private key, where you can create, XPubs. Remember the XPubs and stuff? I remember very good. You can create lots of public keys off this one private key, and you like a tree, a hierarchical tree. That's like the universe. It's sort of like every moment is a new fork, like a new fork in the tree kind of thing. Anyway, so just combing through, I found this. This is sort of just intriguing stuff that seemed interesting. I was like, okay, these guys are all starting to look the same in a certain similar way. Everything. Just some more inspirational stuff, like for me personally. And then the idea was that everything's starting to look the same. Like everything's broken down into these 3 cups of thermal equilibrium almost, where they have their own behaviors. So see how I've tried to layer over the prime number behavior over the thermal cups or whatever. It took about $100,000 worth of image rendering and Photoshop skills, but we got there with that, which is good. Anyway, this is stuff that I find interesting, and I think other people find it interesting too, because at the end of the day, I feel like maths is we're all going to get closer to maths as we're all looking at cryptographic signatures every day. Everything becomes about keys and security and stuff. And I feel like we're on the cusp as well. If you think about startups, right? Like Albert Einstein's got a startup. It's called E = mc squared. And if you build a startup that is a truth, like a universal truth, like an equation, the beauty of that is you get every single person to use it out of the box automatically. And so he's got 8 billion users on his startup, and he's had that for like 100 years. So
are you dreaming about prime numbers?
Oh man, yeah, dude. I just think I tell you what I dream about. No, not literally, but I don't really dream much actually. I really wish I did. I don't anymore, but I wish I did. But prime, so if you think about it, humans, all we've done is smash shit together. We were cavemen. Smash a rock and a stick together. What happens? Nothing. We'd break the stick. Till finally we find something that didn't break when we hit them together. And then we're like, oh my God, they didn't break. Well, let's try and break them. So we get 2 rocks, really, and try harder. Get the big guy. And finally they go smash, and this little spark came off. They're like, no.
What the fuck was that?
What the fuck was that? He's like, bullshit, do it again. It's like, whatever the caveman says. He's like, all right, they smash it together. Holy shit. And now you look at CERN, the Higgs boson and stuff. What
We're
are we doing?
smashing shit together.
Smashing shit together. And that's all they're doing. Except now they're not smashing the rocks together. They go, imagine we could smash that spark together. And that's what the caveman would have been like, cool. Imagine smash that really small thing together. So the universe is always like, and humans, we're always either smashing something really big together or really small together. Because we're trying to see like black holes colliding. And we're like, oh, cool. They create these gravity waves or whatever it is. And then colliding small particles, we find things like this Higgs boson, which Higgs boson's kind of like a private key to a moment. It's a scalar particle, so it comes before all the shit that came after it. And so when we smash these two particles together, we kind of say like, there it is, like, you know, that meme where they're like, hey, we spotted it. And the Higgs boson, it's not like it comes up, it's like, hey, I'm the Higgs boson. It's just like a ripple in the data point on the reading or whatever.
Have you done any psychedelics and gone in to primes of
I
psychedelics?
haven't. Not yet. I wanted to do. But I've obviously heard all this ayahuasca stuff and it's all like and mushrooms and LSD and stuff like that. No, I smoke weed. I like marijuana. I mean, not in a rude way, but like CBD, I find it's quite helpful for sleep sometimes.
I almost want to be there, get Dunny to do DMT with a prime number.
Yeah, dude,
and you might come out and go, I've got it.
Dude, well, you know what? I don't know, but someone will get it. And that's what so a lot of people, I think I used to get really bummed out where it was like, people would say, oh, we're all too young to discover we're too young to discover the stars and we're too old to discover the planet. And I think like that's sort of not the case. Yeah. Anyway, but if this stuff is kind of close, or if magnetism is as big as we think it is, or like as big as I personally think it is, or like from whatever I'm reading, it just seems like the king, like nothing gets past it. If that's the case, then like it kind of makes sense. Like the Earth's a giant magnet, right? Like we're literally a giant magnet, rock, like it's a magnet. So what do you think's going to happen to the climate if the climate is secured by the magnetism and we go around busting up the magnetism thing like, yep, let's take this little bit of rock that's highly magnetic or whatever, put it in this thing that he's going to carry around everywhere. Now that if we think of like the climate almost like it's following around metal, like that basically metal and climate probably have some relationship. Then yeah, we're trying to, like when their cars drive down the street and then they come down the other, the clouds are like, okay, let's go. Wait, which way? So it's like the whole organic flow of a system would probably get quite scrambled. It's super interesting. If you look at actually how many hurricanes have passed over the equator, 0. It's actually funny if you look at the data of a hurricane, you look at a map of a hurricane, it's funniest thing you've ever seen. It looks like it literally goes to the equator and goes, oh, fuck that. Nah, hell no. Like literally, and it like turns around and walks away. I don't know if that's bullshit though, because I don't know enough about these topics to kind of know what the meat, but like if I'm, if there's, I'm just an elementary kind of like I think it's exciting, like just interesting, basically.
Mate, I have literally no idea what the fuck you're talking about with a lot of this.
Yeah.
But I love it.
Someone might.
But I love it.
Yeah, there's pictures though. Like if you look at it to the for me, I'm the same. I've got no fucking clue either. Don't worry, we're in the same boat. Anyway, but yeah, so
I love it.
Energy signal. Look, the whole conversation around energy is gonna be a thing. Like as these guys, like
it's going to be, it already is a thing.
Well, it already is, right? And the best R&D teams in the world for energy are probably going to end up the mining companies. I would be really surprised if they're not. And you know what they're going to be mining for? They're going to be trying to find. Think about you're a Bitcoin miner. What are you trying to do? We need to find the right number faster than everyone else.
Yes.
How do we find the right number faster than everyone else? Well, we can do two things. We can try and get more mining, and then as that becomes heavily aggressive and commoditized, and people can't make those leap functions, those big kind of innovative things, that just these micro optimizations. I reckon you're going to get a team of numbers dudes or mathematicians or whatever. They're going to come in and basically say, there's probably faster or more optimal ways to find a block or find, because we call it finding a block, but at the end of the day, these certain numbers need to connect together to basically make a hash. Whatever happens before that doesn't matter. The hash needs to mean, I just sort of think about it less like a block, and more these guys are going to figure out ways that these numbers they'll have certain common properties, like, a block must always, I don't know what the properties will be, but common divisors, some relationship that will sort of transcend the actual essence of what Bitcoin is, or what Bitcoin did. Hey, you're welcome. Hey. Where's my $100? No, I'm joking. No, but basically, you'll have it with basically these. I think Bitcoin miners will be the forefront of energy innovation. I think we'll enter into basically an age of energy. We're in the age of information now, but we've sort of finished the game. There's not really much more information to go. There's a couple of areas that we've got to get, but I think soon we'll finish information, and ChatGPT will probably, like, those systems will probably help us get there. But then it's going to be on to energy and more physical things. Like, how do we actually innovate on that stuff? And I reckon that's when we're going to go, like, really cool stuff. I really think there's a lot of cool stuff coming. Anyway, that's
Can we go and get a beer?
yeah. I'm stinging too.
Fucking hell,
sorry,
man.
dude. I'm chewing you off. I'm sorry.
What? No,
dude.
Don't worry. I've had plenty of podcasts where I have no idea. When I'm with Andrew Polstra, I sit down with Andrew Polstra for an hour, and every time at the end I was like, by the way, I've got no idea what the fuck you just told me, but it was great to see you again. I've got no idea what you just spoke about for about the last hour, but I love it.
Trust me, you'll love it eventually. I think you might. Maybe. We'll see how we go. But anyway.
Man.
Is this how far down the rabbit hole I am?
Is this the first time we've made a podcast?
Yes, I think so.
Yeah, it is.
Why?
Yeah.
I don't know. Because I think you wanted to do one, but it was like, sorry, I only do in person.
Yeah,
I was like, yeah, whatever, dude. Bye.
That is true.
No, but I think it was something. I think that's good, by the way. In terms of quality control for content, I think I like that.
That might change.
Did I say it was cool? I said it's actually probably worth changing.
No, but do you know what it is? It's like there's other things we want to do, and the travel is a very inefficient way to make podcasts.
Yeah.
So you've got it's like it's a trade-off.
Yeah.
The quality of in-person versus the inefficiency of having to get us two and guests in the same part of the world.
Yeah. How far will you go for your content?
Yeah. And so we'll still do a lot, but
of course,
I'll talk to you about it.
We'll
after
just
the
go
show.
through the wormholes soon. It'll be
Yeah,
fun.
probably.
give me
Doctor Strange that shit up.
Give me that Prime number. I'll jump through the wormhole. I'll
There
be
you
here in
go.
Australia. We'll record again. Mike, I fucking love you, man.
I love you too. Good to see you.
Can we go and get a beer?
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
Thanks.